Welcome to the CatFiveBoys podcast. I am your host, Matt, and I'm here with my co-host, Maddie.
Hey everybody, hope everyone's doing well.
And we have a very special guest today. But before we get into that, let's get into some of the introduction, or let's get through the introduction here. Welcome to the show, first and foremost. Thank you for listening to our show today. We appreciate all the seconds, all the minutes that you spend listening to our show, listening to our voices. We know you could be doing anything else, being anywhere else, and we really, from the bottom of our hearts, appreciate you spending the time. Again, we appreciate it very, very much. Disclaimer, the views expressed on the CatFiveBoys podcast by the individual hosts and or guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the CatFiveBoys podcast. Further disclaimer, the topics that we speak on during the show sometimes can get a little dark, sometimes can get a little depressing, maybe sometimes a little sensitive. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in the CatFiveBoys podcast. If that's not your thing, this might not be the show for you, but just a fair warning there. We have clips. If you can't catch the full shows, we post clips on several. We post short clips. Obviously, not. I'm all over the place right now. We post short clips of some of the best bits of each episode. Obviously, not all of the best bits, because then what would be the point of the actual episodes themselves? But we post some of the best bits on YouTube Shorts. We post them on there, as you can see here. We post them on YouTube Shorts. We got them on Instagram, and we got them on TikTok. So if you want to go check out some clips. Since you might not be able to catch the full shows, maybe you can't catch all of them, and you want to get some of what else we speak on during other episodes, you can go check those out right there. Yeah. When it comes to the clips, we're gonna be posting a lot more. I'm gonna get. Listen, nobody's getting on my ass, but I'm gonna get on my own ass for me. Okay, so I'm gonna get on my own ass. And I'm going to post some more clips, okay? I'm going to get those out. I promise you guys. I keep saying this every single week, but I promise you I'm going to get those clips out. If you want to be a guest on the show, like we have today, we have a very special guest today. If you would like to be a guest on the show and speak about something that interests you, maybe you disagree with some of our positions, you disagree with me in my position that women shouldn't be able to vote, or Maddie's position that he's a simp, or maybe any other guest that we've had on the show that you disagree with and you would like to debate them, or you would like to have a conversation, any interesting topics you want to speak about, we would love to have you on. We had a debate not too long ago between Aubrey Kana and Stephanie Kendall, two of our former guests, and Aubrey listened to the Stephanie episode and he said, I disagree with her on a lot of things. I want to debate. And we set it up and we had a good debate. So if you guys would like to do that, and you're interested in debating anybody who's been on the show, just again, DM me on Instagram right here at CatFiveBoys, letting me know that you're interested in being on the show, a little bio about yourself, and yeah, we're gonna get in contact with you and get that show scheduled ASAP. I stream every single Saturday, at least I try to, at 6 p.m. Eastern time at Codename Soap on Twitch. I don't stream on YouTube because my Wi-Fi isn't the best right now. Let's just say that. And streaming on Twitch in and of itself is already a pain in the ass. So streaming on Twitch and YouTube is a little bit too much for my systems at the moment. So for now, I just stream on Twitch at Codename Soap. The page is right there if you guys would like to check it out. It's also going to be in the description. So hit me with a follow there, guys. It's going to be greatly appreciated. We do TikTok invasions every single Saturday. So we go into TikTok, go into random people's lives, join the lives, and debate them on different topics that they want to debate on. And we just end up destroying their belief systems. We destroy their worldviews, and we replace it with something much, much better. So if that interests you, it's a fun time. We also play some Wordle. We play some crosswords. So it's a fun time over there on the Twitch live stream every single Saturday. If you guys want to go check that out, maybe you want to talk shit on me live. Who knows? Maybe you want to show me some love. Who knows? It'd be greatly appreciated. I would love to see you guys there. Besides that, we also sell merch. I don't like to call it merch, but you know what? I'm gonna call it merch. We sell merch. I don't know if you guys don't know me, I'm a Catholic, very devout Catholic, and one of the aspects of my faith that I care about very much is my devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And one of the things that she left us humans, us feeble humans here on earth, is the rosary. And I'm very passionate about it, and we make them and we sell them, just to kind of keep it short and sweet there, to the point. We make them and we sell them. We only have one at the moment, which is a single decade rosary. We sell that in black, and we sell that in like a brown wood color. So if you guys would like to check that out, you don't have to buy anything, but if you would like to look at the store, look around. I know there's only one item right now. We're going to add more items very, very soon. We're gonna add some shirts as well, possibly, the shirt or a shirt with the logo, with the Cat Five Boys logo, the new one on the shirt. Hopefully, we'll see. But for now, we have the single decade rosary. If you guys want to check that out, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. With that being said, we post every single. Or sorry, wait, I'm not there yet. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to drop us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, like the video. Make sure you comment if you have any funny stories you would like to tell us. We will read it during the Reddit thread segment of the show. If you have any criticisms, concerns, any disagreements, we would love to respond to them on the next episode that follows that comment. Yeah, we would love to hear your comments, guys, so just keep them flowing. We post every single Wednesdays and Fridays. With that being said, and without further ado, let's get right into the show. Again, we have a very special guest today. Introduce yourself, give us your name, your age, your location, occupation, and a little bit about yourself, something interesting going on.
Okay, my name is Tricia. I am 54. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm an author, a writer. I have a book coming out very soon. In my spare time, I also paint custom skateboards, and I'm a pool player. And I just made the world qualifier, so I might be, if I win my next game next week. The first week of June, I'll be playing the World Championship. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. So we got Tricia here today. We hope to have a very good show. We have a lot of good topics to speak on today. She's a very interesting woman, so we'll see exactly what the show leads to. Maddie, what about you? How's everything going? Just for the new people who are here, and obviously Tricia, your name, age, location, occupation, and everything. How has everything been going for you, buddy?
Oh, everything's been going good, bro. For those that are new here, hi, my name is Maddie. I'm a co-host of CatFiveBoys. I'm 24 years old. I'm stationed in Miami,
Station, this
and
boy's a fucking military veteran or some shit.
well, I live in Miami. I'm 24, and yeah, everything's been going good, bro. I really can't complain. I'm just going through life, and everything is throwing at me, but just making it through, bro, day by day.
Just gotta roll with the punches, right, buddy?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that leads to me. My name is Matt. I am the host of the Cat Five Boys podcast. Very, very blessed to be as well. Let me just add that. So I'm the host of the Cat Five Boys podcast, and I'm 21. I'm from Miami, Florida as well, just like Maddie. Matt and Maddie, we're from the same place. Kind of makes sense. And everything's been going good for me recently. I've been doing all right. Some life changes that have been happening pretty recently, but other than that, it's good to be back. We skipped the Thursday episode. We didn't have any guests on that day, and we didn't really have much to speak on. So me and Maddie took a little day off there. But other than that, again, good to be back on the show. We have a phenomenal guest today, so we'll see where the conversations lead. Before we get started with the Reddit segment of the show, I kind of want to talk a little bit about something that is similar, or I guess related to the Reddit stuff. Before we started with the show, we were talking amongst ourselves, and Tricia had mentioned that she's gotten banned on Reddit several times. Did they give you a reason or something?
The first time I got banned, I'm not really sure what they banned me for, but then I just joined again. I don't get kicked off of, platforms very easily. But anyway, so I made a new handle. I guess the way I write or the way I speak, when they recognize me for evading the ban. So I've probably been kicked off about 15 times for evading the ban. I got kicked off another time for saying that the subject matter commented on was women who don't have sex with their husbands. And my point was, if you aren't having sex with your, complain if he cheats on you. So I got kicked off for that.
You got kicked off for that? For saying that?
Yeah, yeah, I got kicked off for saying that because I was
It's the
sensitive
angry
to.
people who just, like to
I
report.
was being insensitive to women's bodies, and they don't have to give it up if they don't want to, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that whole bodily
Say,
autonomy shit.
at the time I made the comment, I was not as I am now on the subject of couples, dead bedrooms and that sort of thing. So, do I think I should have been for it? No, but that's what it was. And then another time I got kicked off for um, this woman, 4-year-old daughter, and I mean, she was like 5, and he found out that his daughter was not his because his wife had cheated on him,
Oh
and
shit.
so he instantly wanted nothing more to do with the child. And I took the side saying that, regardless, this your little girl, you're the only father she's ever known. I mean, yesterday you were her dad, and like today, she's not biologically yours, so you're just not her dad anymore. Like, how does that? I thought that just because the DNA is not there, that was a cruel thing to do to the child. And I got kicked off for stating that too, because I told him he was an asshole, pretty much.
That's wild.
You know,
You
I mean,
can't.
as you
'cause
should,
I mean, you're going to traumatize a little kid that had nothing to do with it. Like, how does your like love for your child like not how does that bond just die overnight because it's not your DNA? I be mad at your wife, but don't take it out on your daughter. I just thought that was a really cruel thing to abandon a child that's especially at that age. That's that'll have lifelong negative effects on the child. So I got kicked off for that too as well.
Well, I mean, as much as I disagree with you there, the fact that you got kicked off for even saying that is crazy. Like, can't even say your opinion on Reddit anymore. It's wild.
Wait, buddy, you think the guy was right for dipping for it not being his kid?
I think he has every right to. I don't think. I mean, like, when you get into like a moral conversation, you could say it's like wrong or whatever the case, but I mean, I don't think. Like, I think he has every right to. At the end of the day, it's not his child, so.
But you love the child unconditionally, right? It's your child. He believed the day before that was his child, so he should have had this unconditional love. How does that just evaporate overnight when you over a test, a blood test?
I mean, I don't even think unconditional love exists, to be honest. I think that's kind of like a thing we tell ourselves just to make ourselves feel better.
No, it does with your children. It does with your children.
I don't think
For
so.
me, it does.
I think love is kind of like this word that people use very broadly, where it's like, I love my child. It's like, what do you mean by that? Like, for example, somebody would say that I don't love my child if I kick them out of my house for doing OnlyFans or kick them out of my house for doing, like some really hardcore drug or some shit. Like, I'll do that. I'll kick them out of my house. Some people would say I don't love my child if I do that, so it's like, the definition of love is very murky, but also, unconditional love.
What
was that?
It's a word that's misused a lot. A lot of people attach, abuse to it, and they think it's love, and they don't really have a clear definition of what it is.
I definitely agree with that, and people misuse that word a lot. They use it very loosely and stuff, But as far as unconditional love, I mean, it all depends on what you mean by love. It all goes down to definitions and things of that nature. If you use it a certain way, the definition of unconditional love might make sense for you, but then in my definition, it won't. So it's all when it comes to that.
It's like if I found out my daughter was switched at birth, and that's not actually my child. Like, that would not change the fact that I'm her mother, and I would not love her any less or any differently than I do now.
I think it's a little. I think it's a little bit of a different perspective between the genders, especially like you're a woman, so to a certain degree, you're gonna have more of like a acceptance in that, but there's like a difference in the way we like men see it, because I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of whose child is whose, you're always gonna know that your child is yours because it comes out of you. You're never gonna have that doubt. A man, to a certain degree, until very recently. Until very recently that we've created these tests that that tell you whether or not that's your child. We never knew. There was never a for sure kind of this is your child. You know what I mean? It was kind of just like, okay, I have to trust that my wife didn't step out on me and that this truly is my child. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I empathize with you for that too. For all men, for that reason, as well as the fact that women can have an abortion without your consent as well. So yeah, I empathize with men in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, especially the abortion thing for sure. That's definitely one of the biggest um, like inequalities between the men and women that aren't really spoken about too much. It's you know, women want bodily autonomy, but men don't really have that. You know what I mean? And especially when it comes,
Yeah.
even when it comes to abortion, it's like you get the right to abortion. We don't even have the right to abortion. You know what I mean? We can't
Yeah.
like opt out of we can't like I think it's called legal paternal surrender. We can't do that. You know what I mean? We can't like opt out of paying for child support. Like if you have the kid, if you choose to have the kid, you can, you know, force me via the courts to have to pay for that child, and I
But
have no say for that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but on the flip side too, if you're pro-life and somebody wants to have an abortion, you're also powerless to stop the death of your baby.
oh,
You know?
100%. Well, that's a really big aspect to it too. I think if
Yeah.
my fiance, you know, God forbid, you know, grateful to God that she has the same beliefs I do in this case as well. But if she wanted to abort our child, and you know that's something that she was really hell bent on, I would have no say to that, and I would lose my child. It's like a really scary thought to even think about, you know. So the fact that some men actually
Imagine.
go through that, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But but yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we could when it comes to that. I mean, I don't think we're probably gonna have that much time to speak on it. But maybe if we do, we'll
That's
touch
probably
on
a whole nother
that.
episode.
What was that?
It's probably a whole nother episode, the whole abortion thing,
Oh
but
yeah, no, for sure. And also the you know the topic about, you know, whether or not the father should leave his daughter if that's not hers and or his, whatever the case. But that, even that topic, like we probably don't have any time to talk about it. But if we do, we'll come back to that. But with that being said, uh, they banned you for just basically speaking your mind, which is crazy to me. I remember a time, I don't think it was even like too long ago when Reddit was like a place where you could actually say your mind, and you like
it's ridiculous. It's like
But you know
so
what's
many people
so
are just
crazy that like I don't mean to interrupt. So sorry, but it's so crazy to me that Reddit can be used for like very bad illegal videos, you know, such as
Mhm.
executions and, you know, death and things like that, and pornography. But
Yep.
someone speaks their mind, and that's what people
All
are
of a sudden
more upset
everyone's
about.
offended. Well, I know all of a sudden everybody's offended.
That's
It's
so
crazy.
that just shows you what the priorities are and the mindsets of people.
yeah, no,
That's
Reddit
ridiculous.
just isn't a place anymore for free speech. It's kind of just
No.
if you say
Mm.
something that they disagree with, they'll ban you for that shit. Crazy.
I thought of calling my podcast "Banned from Reddit."
Banned from Reddit. That would
Yeah.
be a good name. That would be a good name. It's just all the things you couldn't say in Reddit, you say it on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I need to design my own Reddit and where you can actually say whatever the hell you want.
Say that's actually probably a good industry gap there, or whatever or industry void or something, whatever it's called.
Like no pussies allowed, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's shit. I'll sign up. Sign me up. Sign me up. No, but either way, um, yeah. So let's get started with the actual Reddit portion of the video, guys. So the first one we're gonna do today, we're gonna touch on relationship advice. So let's get right into it. 18 female. Actually, let me see if this one's too long. No, it's actually perfect. 18 female, surprised my boyfriend, 21 male, and found his ex there. How do you move on when you still love someone who hurt you? I went over to surprise him with his favorite snack and ended up seeing her car in the driveway. I didn't even know what to think at first. When he came to the door, he looked guilty. Said he was confused and didn't mean for it to be like this. I cried. I was angry. I asked him how he could do this when we were talking about moving in together in a few months. All he said was that he was sorry. What hurt the most isn't just that she was there, it's that he left me believing everything was fine. I didn't yell much, just said what I needed to say and left. Part of me regrets not saying more. Another part still wants to believe he meant what he said to me, and that this wasn't as bad as it looked. But he didn't call, didn't text, didn't chase me. I don't know if it's even worth trying to fix. I feel dumb for even wondering. And what's worse is I still love him. I know I should be angry, and I am, but I also miss him. Has anyone ever been through something like this and actually made it work? Or is it better to just walk away, even if your heart's still there? Any thoughts on this one, starting out the first Reddit post?
Sure, I'll go for this one. Okay, first of all, you're done with that guy. You're done with that guy.
W.
And here's the thing. As far as her worrying about, be happy that God just blessed you with the information that this is not a guy you want to waste another day of your life on, because regardless of what he's doing, you can't take that out on yourself or think that you're in some way lacking, because those are his ability for dishonesty and to lie to you and make you think that you're going to move in together and stuff. That's his character flaw. It's a big one, so you can't carry the weight of somebody else's character defects. That's not a reflection of of her. She could have been anybody, and he probably still would have been screwing around, because he doesn't have the capacity to obviously be honest or stay faithful, or to even be truthful enough to say, hey, I want to see other people. This is not, we shouldn't be in a committed relationship. But don't waste your time with a guy like that. That's a guy that you try to forget as soon as possible. And she's a baby. She's 18. She's got her whole life ahead of her. And that's the last thing you want to do, is be wasting years of your life with a guy that's just a waste of time.
Wonderful. I forgot to ask this before before we started with the Reddit threads and the introductions and everything. Since we're gonna dive into some dating and things of that nature, I kind of want to get everybody's dating status. Maddie, we'll start with you. For anybody who's new here listening, what is your relationship status, buddy?
For anybody that's new here, I am single.
All right. And no previous relationships, right?
No, sir.
All right. Wonderful. Tricia, what is your relationship status?
I am single. Excuse me. I'm single. I am about 4 years out of a 20-year marriage. So yeah, I was married for 20 years and I've been single for 4.
Oh, well, sorry to hear that. What is?
No, it's okay.
Who initiated the divorce?
I did.
Okay, so you initiated the divorce. It was 20 years you guys were together, or you guys were
Yes.
married for 20 years?
We were married for 20 years.
Okay, and how long were you dating before that?
We were friends for 3 years before that. Probably about a year we dated, got married, and yeah, we were married for 20 years. We have 2 kids together, which I have full custody of both of our daughters, who are 15, and my other daughter is going to be 18 next month. So, yeah, and I initiated the divorce.
Okay, and was that, if you don't mind me asking, was that infidelity or abuse or anything like that?
It was, well, I always say, there was probably 7 different reasons that standing alone would have been grounds for divorce, but that was part of it. That probably wasn't what ended the marriage, though. It was more, I was unhappy for a long time, and it was like the slow eroding and chipping away at my self-esteem. It's kind of like one of those situations where you chip away at somebody to make them smaller so you can feel bigger. And, I just didn't want to spend the rest of my life being miserable.
Would you say, like, when it comes to like categories of like people, the reasons why people give for divorce, would you say it's unreconcilable differences is kind of a good descriptor of that, or would you say it's something different?
I would say it was something different. He was real narcissistic. I know people toss that word around, but was actually like clinical definition of narcissist.
He was diagnosed?
Yeah, among other things too.
Oh, okay.
But it was the person that I was when I married him. I was like a confident, person, and he picked on me a lot, and it was like you couldn't do anything right. You couldn't. There was no pleasing him, no matter what I did. I was a good wife and a good mother. Plus, I worked. I did took care of the kids. And it was just, everything was always about him. It was not even about the kids. It was just always, everything was about him, and that gets old after a while. And, it just, when you're getting criticized by somebody every day, and, it's just like, it gets old.
When you if this is too I forgot to say this at the beginning. If any question that I ask or anything like that you don't want to answer, just say move on and we'll move on. But
no problem. I'll answer anything, really.
All right, wonderful. Would you say
I'm happier? I'm happier than I've ever been. It was the best move I ever made, was to end that marriage.
you're like you're like kind of like you're kind of maybe not over it, but you're kind of getting to the point where you're over it at this point?
I'm over it. I have been over it.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I'm over it.
Well, congratulations for
He's not over it. He's not over it.
He's still hung up on you?
Oh, he still acts like we just broke up last week.
Oh.
And it's going on like 4.5 years now. But yeah, no, he's not over it at all.
When you Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm kind of like the type of person. I'm very loyal to a fault. I'm loyal, and I have fallen into this situation in the past too, not just with him, where you know when you're really loyal, sometimes people get to this point where they think that they can do whatever they want, and you're just going to be there to take it. But my loyalty is what God gives, God can take away. What I give, I can take away as well. And I have my limits. And when you cross that line, I'm not going to be with a man who I can't respect myself if I'm with him. You know, um, and I didn't like the way he treated me. And I'm raising two daughters, and I didn't want to see them in a relationship like the one I was in, and the one I was modeling for them, where we're saying I love you all the time out of habit. When the relationship really was not very loving at all, and I couldn't show my daughters what love is supposed to be with him, but I could show them what you do when it's not love, and you walk away with your self respect. So I chose that path to go on.
Okay, okay. When it comes to, you were saying that he would kind of like talk down to you and kind of like make you feel bad, insult you, things of that nature. Would you say like it was kind of just insults like you're fat or you're ugly, or was it more like
No, he really couldn't say that because I'm not either one. But no, it was it was more like he would do things like if you were hanging out with friends, like you wouldn't even notice that he was digging at me constantly. He had a sideways way of doing it, like an undercover way of doing it. You know, it's hard to think of it now because I don't think about it anymore. But it was always just like if I made a mistake or something, it had to be like constantly brought up. Even though like I
like
never
passive
would throw
aggressive type?
yeah, and just it's like he just would make little jokes and stuff that were like that would sting, but they would get by it like our friends. They wouldn't notice that it was a dig, But it was just a constant. It was like constant, and like it just like he would come home from work, and mind you, I worked and also took care of the kids, and it's like I would clean the whole house, do the laundry, have everything done, and it's like he would come in and he'd be like just scanning the room, like looking for something I missed, It was like sleeping with the fucking enemy,
Like being super
So
like
I,
super critiquing on everything you do, and
yeah, like I
Yeah,
mean, he was
he's just
ridiculous
looking
about
for
stuff.
shit to like get into a fight
Yeah,
about, or
just looking for some way to tear me down, like no, and just searching for a reason to pick on me, really. And I'm not going to be somebody's whipping boy. I'm
uh,
not. No, I'm not about that. And he had, you know, he had his chance and he blew it. I mean, I stayed for a lot longer than I wanted to,
I mean, yeah, 20 years is
and
it's a long
it's not
time.
like I didn't voice. I used my voice. I told him what I had issues with, and they were falling on deaf ears. So,
I'm kind of curious.
you
What is your, if you don't mind me asking, what is your religion, or I guess your religious affiliation?
my family are all Catholic, and I was the only person in my family not baptized or brought up in the Catholic religion. I'm personally don't believe in organized religion, but I'm very spiritually connected. I had a spiritual awakening like 2 years ago, so I actually am in constant communication with like the 5D, and I can communicate with my spirit guides and stuff, and they communicate back to me. So, but that only started happening about 2 years ago. So, but I've always believed in God, and my family just I had an odd childhood, so I kind of just found God on my own. I always believed in God, and I always believed that good overcomes evil, and that was pretty much do unto others. The golden rule is pretty much the religion that I myself lived by. Um, so yeah,
Do
but my
you
family is Catholic.
do you believe in the Christian God though, or is that like, or do you kind of just believe that there is a God?
Well, I believe that. Well, you have to. My view of everything is a lot different because my experience in my spiritual awakening, like a lot of windows to the world and the way the universe works, were open to me that were not previously open before. So it's like I was led into a lot of knowledge that not everybody has. I didn't ask for it; it was kind of just started happening out of nowhere. So I know that we're all connected, and I know that love is what is really the most important thing, and the energy that we put out is what's coming back to us. And I think that the treatment, I think where humanity stands is, we're in a society, in a world where people, treat each other horribly, and we're not even, people don't do anything for anybody anymore. It's a every man for themselves attitude. And that's, we're like having like spiritual warfare here, and there's going to be changes coming, because this is not the way the world is supposed to be working. We like, we we teach our youngsters, like, oh, if you like him, well, don't tell him that you like him. Don't act like you like him, or don't act like you like her. It's a compliment to have someone love you, and we're trying to like stifle that in the world. It's like some more like to be something to be ashamed of, and that's not the way this world is supposed to be. We're supposed to be loving each other. Love thy neighbor. There's a lot of the Bible that I absolutely stand by. But the main thing is that people, I think, do not hold themselves accountable, and I think that a lot of people think that they're walking in good character, when they're really not. Like people that are ghosting people and sleeping with each other, and then they just don't even have the decency to like tell somebody they're not seeing them anymore. They just block them everywhere. That's become like that's like a sick thing to do to somebody, and it's become just a normal, accepted way of being now. It's like bad behavior just being reinforced and growing like a cancer. That's just one example, of people that are just, they don't know how to communicate, unless they can select the proper emoji on their keyboard. Nobody talks to each other face to face. We've got generation of kids raised by smartphones, and it's not good. Now we've got AI. We're losing the human part of humanity. So, and that's what is communicated to me spiritually. And, I'm going to always stand, if I have to stand by myself, I'm going to stand for what's right, and not let anybody that's toxic, or, they're not going to take away, I'm not going to become like them. I'm going to stay like me, and not take on other people's bad behaviors. And I think that a lot of people should take notice too, when they're putting all that negative energy out into the world, it's not good. It's not good.
Okay, and just kind of curious, do you think that like what year, I suppose, do you think was the last time we had more normalcy in how we treated each other and being nice to people and, loving thy neighbor and things of that nature?
The last time that it comes to mind was on 9/11, because regardless of what was going on right before that, 9/11, there was no race, there was no gender, it was Americans helping
There was
Americans
like a sense of unity.
survive. It wasn't even, I mean, unless you were alive for it. Even my own kids were not alive for that. It's like they don't understand that, like, there's all this division in the world, and in America, and it's like we're all Americans, and you guys weren't alive to see like what that actually looks like when we're hit with something like as massive as the Twin Towers. And my brother was actually in the building
Oh,
on the
really?
81st floor. Yeah, my brother's he's who I interviewed for my premiere episode of my podcast.
Oh, he survived?
But yeah, he survived. He was on the 81st floor.
He like
Barely
he
survived.
got off like because the
Uh, he,
planes hit.
he was hospitalized. He was hospitalized afterward. He got injured and was hospitalized, and yeah, he's a survivor of
The
9/11.
planes hit higher than the 81st floor.
My brother is on the 81st floor. The 82nd floor was vacant. The whole floor was vacant, and the plane hit the 83rd floor.
Wow, wow,
So
that's
yeah, it's an incredible interview that it's going to be my premiere episode actually. But
crazy.
but at that point in time, it's like that's why I always tell my kids, like, I hope something like 9/11 doesn't have to happen to bring this nation together like it did on 9/11, because it really did unite us all. Nobody cared. People were digging through that rubble like they didn't care if you were transgender or you were whatever the fuck you were. It didn't even matter to anybody. And it's sad that it takes that kind of event to knock some sense into everybody and let everybody remember like what we are, you know. But it also is a very prideful time too to see your fellow Americans step up, you know, the way they should.
Yeah, it makes you feel patriotic and united in
Yeah,
one goal and things of that nature. Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. When I hear people talking about the country in a negative way, it like infuriates me, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely seen I've seen like the events and kind of what happened like post 9/11, like the days after and the weeks after. I
Mhm.
unfortunately, well, I guess I don't even know if I would say unfortunately or fortunately, but I wasn't alive during that time. I was born 2 years after that, so I wasn't alive when the Twin Towers were hit. But I did see. I mean, I seen in the new in like old news stories and videos and things of that nature of just the unity that we found ourselves in the United States. It was something to behold for sure. Um,
Yeah, but it shouldn't take that to unite us. We're all sharing a planet together here.
No, 100%. But I mean, even when we put it that way, we kind of united against one enemy. You know what I mean? There's always going
Yes,
to be
yes.
that enemy to a certain degree. It's good versus evil, not good versus nothing. So at the very
That's
least, we're all
because
going to have to be united against the evil.
exactly because like George Bush said, this is America. You're either with us or you're against us,
Yeah.
you know?
So you're like, would you say that you're like a big advocate of patriotism?
Um, well, I'm not like marching in the street, but yeah, yes, I am. I think the kids should say the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school. Um, I think we should celebrate the 4th of July, So yeah, I'm definitely a proud American for sure.
Would you say you're a
I mean,
nationalist?
no, no, I'm not an extreme anything.
No, yeah,
I'm,
no, of
I'm,
course, probably not extreme, but would you say that like you're of the belief system that maybe we should focus on our own country and fix them like America
absolutely
first kind of thing?
100%,
Okay.
100%.
Just kind of like when it comes to your spirituality and things of that nature, you said you have like a spiritual guide and kind of like you're able to communicate with spirits and you're able to communicate with kind of the other side of what we see here. Do you like in that aspect? Do they tell you the future or do they tell you like the past or like things that will happen or could happen or something like that?
No, it doesn't really it doesn't really work that way. It's more like Earth is kind of like a training uh ground here, and it's a small part of we're all spiritual beings, and life exists beyond what's happening here on Earth. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, but what we're doing here matters in the afterlife as far as how high what vibration we're excuse me, what vibration we're existing on, how evolved we are, spiritually evolved. It's like you're kind of doing the work down here to evolve in the spiritual realm. And so it's a lot of things that are here that there are man-made rules of the planet really don't exist in the spiritual realm. So
Maddie, you got background noise, bro.
I'm so sorry, buddy.
Nah, it's no problem. Continue.
so it's more like here's one of the main things that people need to do here is to understand that you have to learn to love yourself and to accept yourself and to be a healthy balanced person, because only then are you going to bring that kind of only then are you going to attract those things to your life. And we really are capable of we're born with everything we need to be whatever we want, you know. But the challenge is to take as life comes to you and overcome things and still find your way out without um, becoming walking with the devil, really. You know, there's a line of good and evil, and a lot of people are kind of just walking in the gray area. And my understanding is that that's not going to be the way it's done forever. And soon it's going to be you're either in the darkness or you're in the light. There's gray, and you better know which side you're on when the time comes.
Okay, all right. I just kind of have one question or one last question, I suppose. Do you believe Jesus Christ is God, or would you say what would you say your opinion on him is?
I believe that Jesus walked the earth. Um, I believe that Jesus was God, yes, in human form.
Okay, so then to a certain degree, you would be considered a Christian-ish in that regard, I
Yes,
guess.
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we had a good conversation there, I suppose. Let's get right back into the Reddit. So, um, just to kind of remind everybody, the prompt or the Reddit thread or the Reddit post rather was I 18 female surprised my boyfriend 21 male and found his ex there. How do I move on when I still love someone who hurt me? Maddie, uh, Tricia already kind of gave her opinion on this one, her advice. Maddie, what would you say to this young lady here? Or
Well,
do you need me to repeat it? I don't know. It was kind of a while back, so I don't know if you remember.
yeah, because I was more focused on everything, the whole conversation that was happening. Could you just give me a brief, like a little brief recap?
Yeah, I got you. So she went over to her boyfriend's house to surprise him with something, and she found his ex girlfriend there. He ended up telling her that he didn't mean for it to be like this, and he said that he was confused, quote unquote, and she started crying. She said she was angry, um, and that they were kind of talking about moving in together. So she's kind of like she's in like between missing him, hating him, wanting him, not wanting him. So she's kind of just confused and stuff like that. So that's kind of the
Because
problem.
his ex was at their place or at his
Yeah.
place.
His ex was at her boyfriend's place.
Nah, bro, that's it's like I've said before, bro. Somebody is an ex for a reason, right? And if you're in a relationship with somebody else, there's no reason that you should be in communication with your ex. There's absolutely no reason,
I agree.
unless there's kids involved. Nonetheless, you still should have the respect for your partner to let them know, like, hey, this person's coming by. I just want to let you know because any normal person, if you're going to your in her case, she's going to her boyfriend's house. She's just thinking, oh, I'm gonna spend time with my man. We're gonna watch movie, go out for dinner, have a good day, and then you go and you see his ex parked up at the house when you're not there. First thing that's going to go through your mind is, damn, he's cheating. So then that's already going to cause you to feel bad and all this stuff. And then you just feel disrespected as their significant other because why did you at least tell me, like, hey, they showed up. I tried to tell them to leave, but they had to talk. Communication would have been better for this type of situation. But, for some advice, she should leave him because if he didn't bother telling her that his ex showed up, God only knows what they were actually doing because why would he have not told her? Why would
She
he
might
have
have
wanted
showed
to
up.
keep it?
She might
I'm
have showed
sorry?
up, but she might have showed up unannounced or whatever. But what the hell? How the hell did she get in the house? He had to have let her in. Like there you go. No, no, shake that dude.
Yeah,
That chick should not.
exactly.
That should not have been in the house for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. He should have, one, he should not have let her in. Two, he should have called his girlfriend immediately and be like, hey, look, this girl pulled up, she came, she's here. I just want to let you know everything's okay, or just talk to this girl outside or not even talk, just tell her go away. Because, if you're in a relationship with this person and it's already in the works of moving in together, then that means it's, getting serious or it has been serious. So if you do not have the same type of mutual respect to let your girlfriend know, a sense of security from you as a man, then, he
Well,
fucked up majorly.
if you care about your relationship and you respect your partner, you don't put yourself in situations like that are compromising. There's no reason that you should be like if you have a boyfriend or whatever. There's no reason if I have a boyfriend. There's no reason I should be alone with another guy somewhere. You don't put yourself in
100%.
you don't put yourself in those kind of situations if you care about your relationship because it's you're asking for
I
trouble.
mean, along that vine, would you agree with the with kind of the whole idea that women who are in relationships should not have guy friends then?
I under if there's a certain set of circumstances at play, yes, they can have. Well, okay, first of all, this has been like a thing for me my whole life. I have a lot of guy friends, not a lot of guy friends, but I have my closest friends are guys, but I've been friends with them for like 40 years, Um, but I will say that a certain dynamic has to be at play for it to work.
Would you say like if I were to get into like let's say I was single, if I were to get into a relationship with a girl, and we're both in agreement that we want to make it serious, we want to do it, we want to have a serious relationship, and she has guy friends, and I tell her, listen, I don't want you to have guy friends. That's that's like a boundary for me. If you choose to stay with them, then you can't be with me, and if you want to be with me, then you have to drop the guy friends. Would you say that I
Well,
would be an asshole in that regard, or I'd be like
no,
doing something wrong,
I
or?
would ask, I would ask you this. I would say if okay, if I had if I have a boyfriend and I have guy friends, automatically I would invite my boyfriend to hang out with my guy friend because if there's nothing going on, there's no reason they can't be friends as well.
Yeah, but what
So
if
I don't
he
understand.
says like I don't care, I don't want to hang out with your guy friends. I simply do not feel comfortable with you having guy friends, period. Even if I like them,
Well,
even if they're cool, like I just don't want you to have the guy friends.
I mean, I've never had that presented to me that way. Um, but I'm kind of the view that, if my friendships that are, 35, 40 years long, those were established before I met my boyfriend. And the way I see it is like, if I was going to be with this guy, I had like 30 years to do it. Obviously, there's nothing there, but I'm not going to. Um, Here's the thing: if I'm going to be in a relationship with somebody, they're going to already know that this friendship exists, and they're going to already have decided to move forward with me in spite of it. But I've always also been respectful when I've had a boyfriend. I'm not going to go hang out at my guy friend's house because I'm respecting my relationship. I'll keep in touch through Facebook or something, and not ever say anything. Boyfriend's welcome to read the messages or whatever. And it goes both ways. When I've had guy friends, there are times when they have girlfriends or they're married, and times when they're not. And when they have a girlfriend or a significant other, I back up and don't go over to their house because I respect their relationship. So, and also, it's it's a friendship that has stood so long that there's no question we're not going to mess around. It's a platonic relationship, you
Okay,
know.
so I guess like
And
just to kind of
I rule out. I'm not going to be friends with a guy I used to date and call him my friend. That's no.
yeah, no, of course,
Like,
but I'm just
if I
saying
was
like you
sleeping
have
if I was sleeping with a
platonic
guy if I was
friends.
sleeping with a guy and now we're friends, but there was a period of time I was sleeping with him, like, nah, that's not cool,
Yeah, it's just like you have
you know?
platonic friends or whatever the case. You've never slept with them. You never had any sort of
They're not
romantic
they're not
interest or anything like that.
ex-boyfriends.
Yeah, it's just you're
Yeah.
you're just friends. Let's say like you meet the perfect guy. He's like the perfect guy in every way you can think of. He's your dream guy. Like again, in almost every single aspect, this is the guy. You know what I mean? And he comes to you and he goes, "Listen, I'm not comfortable with you having guy friends at all, even if you've never, just at all. There's no circumstance where I'd be comfortable with that. So to a certain degree, I'm gonna give you an ultimatum. Would you, or if you want to stay with your friends, I understand that we're not gonna work out. If you want to be with me, then the guy friends have to go. What would you say there? Would you say, okay, fine, I won't be with you then, or would you give up your guy friends in order to be with this guy?
I would say, first of all, I doubt anybody that was going to date me would present me with a situation that way because if that's something that they have an issue with, we're probably not going to get along in the long run anyway. For one thing, I don't like things being dictated to me that way, and I also, I'm not a real controlling person myself. But I would, if he expected me to end a friendship to be with him, I would say no. I'm not gonna end a 40
Even
year
even if
friendship.
he's like the perfect guy, you'd still say
He's
no.
not perfect. If he's requiring that of me, he's not
Okay,
perfect.
so he's perfect in every way except for that. That's the only imperfection he has. You would
Um,
still say no, I'm good.
I would say, you know what? I'm not gonna tell this person that we're never gonna speak to each other again. I will respect your boundaries and not go hang out with him, but I'm not gonna, but to just, walk out on a friendship, that's not who I am. It's not how I do things, especially if it's a friendship that, they've been there for me in hard times or whatever, and we go way back, to like middle school. I mean, that's like I don't. I think that would be a definite indication that there's a lot of insecurity going on with my perfect boyfriend that would be more of an issue than the fact that he's telling me that I need to not be friends with a guy.
Okay, so then
Because
like
I would say no. I would say no.
yeah, so
That's
so
not
you
that doesn't
wouldn't
work
you
for
wouldn't
me.
cut that you wouldn't cut them off. So if that's like a deal breaker for the guy, he says, okay, I
I
respect your decision, but I can't be with you. You'd be okay with that. You'd accept that.
Yes, I would.
Okay,
I would accept that.
okay, all right. All right. So just to get back into the the Reddit thread, we kind of got a little bit off topic there. I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts on this specific one.
Nope, this is
Nobody, no further thoughts.
No. Okay. Wonderful. I guess I'll give my quick advice to this girl. First and foremost, don't hate the guy. He's 21 years old. He's young, and he's had. I mean, apparently he's had an ex-girlfriend, so he's had relationships. He's had experience in this regard, and he's confused. You know what I mean? To in no way, shape, or form has she provided to us definitive information as to whether or not he actually did have any sort of sexual intercourse or anything like that. Maybe she went over, they had a conversation, and it got like emotional or something. Who knows? Shit happens. But don't be pissed at the guy. He's young. I understand that's probably a good instinct because he cheated on you, or maybe that's like the impression. But at the end of the day, you guys are young. If what you're looking for is commitment, I don't think you're gonna find it with this guy. Probably should move on and find another guy. Find a guy who will commit to you. Find a guy who is not hung up on his exes, because that's probably a bad sign. And again, just focus on. I mean, you're 18 years old. You're probably, I mean, at the very least, you're maybe average looking. I mean, I would assume you're probably average looking, which is why it's average. You probably won't have that much trouble finding a man who will, commit to you and things of that nature. So just, do that. Commend yourself to the Lord, and you'll get there. You'll get there. But as for the guy, figure it out, bro. But that's me. That's just my thoughts. I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts. We can say them now, or if not, we'll just move it on to the next one.
No, I don't.
All right, great.
Yeah, I'm good, buddy.
All right, great. Here we go. So we're gonna do an Am I the Asshole? We're gonna move it on to this now. Am I the asshole? Here we go. Am I the asshole for asking my husband to mow the lawn before work? It's spring where I live, and our grass has started to grow again. My husband is usually the one who mows the lawn. On his days off, he usually says, "Wow, I need to mow the lawn," and never ends up mowing it. Eventually, he says he can't do it anymore because it's too late in the day and might disturb the neighbors. He also says it's because sticks need to be picked up first, and the leaves from the fall need to be removed. To help with that, I've actually went out, picked up all the sticks, bagged up the leaves. He still hasn't mowed it. The grass is getting very tall. I'm worried about snakes and ticks in the yard. It's also getting to the point where our lawnmower is going to have a difficult time handling it, especially in the front yard where the lawn is more lush. I had a neighbor complain to me when I was outside one day. After 2 more days of not mowing it, he said he would. After he said he would, I asked him to please mow it before he goes into work. He works evenings and was scheduled to go in at 5:30 p.m. It's one of his late days. He has hours to do it between waking up and needing to get ready for work. It only takes about 45 minutes. He says I'm nagging about it, and he will do it when he has time. He doesn't have time and doesn't want to mow it before work, because he will be tired at work. He says he will do it on his next day off. I told him he's been saying that for weeks and it hasn't been done, and he just repeated that I need to stop nagging him. Am I the asshole for asking my husband to mow the lawn before he goes to work?
Nope. Tell him to get off his lazy ass and mow the goddamn lawn so you don't have to.
Oh my goodness. I can tell you're very opinionated on this one. Go ahead and what are your thoughts on that? Further thoughts, I guess.
I mean, she went and picked up the sticks and bagged all the leaves. I mean, why doesn't he just tell her to go mow the lawn herself? She did everything he's complaining about, and he's still laying on his ass. So she did her part. It's not like she's laying there just barking at him to do it. She put in some work too. So no, he needs to stop being lazy.
Maddie, what about you? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man. I don't think she's the asshole in this because it's like she said that he said multiple times, on his days off that he should mow it, and that he acknowledges it, right? So there's no reason that he shouldn't do it, especially if she took the time to pick up, and separate the sticks and the leaves and all that. It's especially if he works at 5:30 in the afternoon. Who knows what time he gets out? Most likely, midnight or 1 a.m. But if he's an adult, a grown man, he should do it just before work. Get up at a normal time, noon or whatever, mow the lawn for an hour, and then you get to relax and for another couple hours until you get to work. It just sounds like he's being very lazy, and he just doesn't have the type of discipline to do what he has to do as a man and as the man of the house. Especially if your woman, your wife already did half the work. All you got to do is just turn that shit on and cut it up, and then that's it. I can only imagine how small the freaking yard is. Unless you live on 10 acres. But just get up, do that shit, and that's it. I don't think she's nagging. I mean, what she's doing, yes, could be considered in the general term nagging, but in this sense, no. She's just being persistent with trying to tell him to stop being so freaking lazy and to just go mow the freaking lawn already because he should do it, especially if he's doing nothing on his days off except saying how much he needs to cut the grass. It's like the biggest oxymoron ever.
I guess it's my turn. She's definitely nagging him for damn sure. That's nagging for
Uh-oh.
damn sure. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Now as for whether or not he should get his lazy ass up and do it, I mean, I don't even know what this guy does for work. He could be a fucking construction worker or some shit, for all I know. Which at that point, I guess the type of work he does.
Mowing the lawn should be child's play for him then.
Yeah, but it might also be child's play. For him, and then he's kind of, having to lift up big ass fucking spikes of metal and shit at work. He doesn't want to come home and mow the lawn, or be doing that before work. I mean, again, it all depends on what he does at the end of the day. That kind of changes it for me, I guess, a little bit to a certain extent, not too much. But when
hire a gardener.
What was that?
He could always hire a gardener if it's that.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just about to get to. She could just, like, instead of telling him, oh, mow the lawn or whatever, oh, can we just hire a gardener or something, whatever. Maybe he's tight on money, he doesn't want to do that, or whatever the case, who knows. At the end of the day, this is what I'll say. Stop nagging the dude. He's obviously working for you to stay home. I'm assuming she stays home. It seems to me like she stays home. But he's working for you to stay home, you know what I mean? He's doing that. And I think having to come home to you nagging about the fucking lawn is probably not the thing he wants to come home to. And furthermore, I think this kind of works a lot when it comes to men. Leave it alone. Let the lawn get out of hand, and he'll eventually be like, "Fuck, man, I actually have to do this because if not, it's gonna get too bad." And that's usually kind of how it goes. At the end of the day, the worse it gets, the more he's kind of forced to do it himself. He's like, "Fuck it, whatever. We'll get to it right now." And yeah, that's kind of my position on it. Is she the asshole for asking her husband to mow the lawn? I think you get to a threshold where I think after 5 times of asking him in a single week, yeah, you're the fucking asshole. I'm sorry. But anything before that, nah, you're not the asshole. Anything after that, yeah, you're the asshole. I'm assuming it's after that, so I'll say she's the asshole. All right, that's that post. I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts on that.
Nope.
No thoughts? No thoughts?
Nah,
All right.
buddy.
Beautiful. Let's move on to the last one here because we've already kind of gone over time in this one. But for the last one, am I the asshole? Actually, wait. I don't think I want to do this one, actually. Let me see. Let me see which one I want to do. Fuck it. Let's do this one. Am I the asshole for telling my sister to just wear the stupid dress for her husband and to stop overthinking it? My sister Becky and some friends were out shopping. She vented about being in a roommate phase with her husband and said that the last thing she did to work on it was ask him to send her an example of a dress that he found sexy with the intention of her buying it and wearing it for him on a date night. She showed us the dress to mixed reactions. She obviously hated the dress. It was a very club wear type of dress, tight and short with thin straps and a plunging neckline, slit up the thigh, etc. Wait, I said that wrong. A slit up the thigh. Like if you Googled generic sexy dress, I bet it would come up. Her friends jumped in about how it was gross and sexist and says a lot about who he is and what he values. A lot of this is how he, I'm reading like shit right now. I apologize. A lot of, quote unquote, this is how he expects you to dress, and, quote unquote, you're just a trophy for him type of stuff. I thought this was a huge overreaction. Like, it's definitely not her style, but I didn't think that it was that bad. So I told her to just get the dress and stop overthinking it. They tore into me saying I'm a pick-me and how he should love her and how she is instead of... what the fuck? Okay, this time it's her fault. I'm a pick me and how he should love her how she is instead of trying to get her to change into something she's not. I said I don't think that's what he's trying to do, but they told me that I don't get it. I'm so worried that me saying to just get the dress was the wrong thing to do. I do have trouble knowing when people want support and encouragement versus solutions. Did I misread the situation? And this was a support, not solutions type of thing. I guess for this one, I guess I'll start. Actually, you know what? Maddie, go ahead. What are your thoughts on this one, buddy, initially?
Well, in the aspect of this guy, wanting his girl to get the dress so that she can look a way which, this person that's writing it said that's not who they are. If that's not who they are and you're trying to change that, then what was kind of the point of getting together, right? You get with somebody because you care about them, you're attracted
I
to
mean, when
them,
you
you
get
see a
into a
few.
relationship, don't you have the expectation of changing?
I mean, changing certain aspects or adjusting, yes, but if I like, I'll give an example. Like, if I get with a girl that is tomboyish, she likes to wear joggers and hoodies and shit like that. If we go to the mall, movies, going out normal shit. But she dresses up nicely once in a while when we go somewhere nice or something like that. Then fine. But I mean, in the aspect of wanting to change the person and like make them dress, like if they're gonna go to a pageant or some shit like that all the time, to me that's kind of controlling, and it's like you're ashamed to be seen in public with how they're comfortable with being, because you should both be comfortable with each other regardless. Like, I understand if she's wearing, dirty, bleach stained, ripped up pants or whatever. And, she does, hair's a mess, looks like not take care of herself. Okay, I'd understand, but none of that was explained or described. So it's kind of like, again, like you get with somebody, and your immediate or future arrangements shouldn't be, oh, I'm gonna try to change her so she could dress more feminine or more ladylike. It shouldn't be your aspect. Maybe you could talk about it and be like, hey, do you think maybe you can wear something a little more girly? If you want to wear something more manly, whatever, when we go out. But telling them, oh, you have to get that. You should wear that. You should, you're expected to. It's kind of like, yo, like, really? To me, that's a little like, controlling. But that's just how I'm understanding that.
All right, Trisha, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, the original goal here was to ask, she wanted to address her dead bedroom, and she was specifically asking her husband what he wanted to see her in, because she wanted to please him and make him happy. So if he suggests, if he suggests a dress you don't like, then why are you asking him if you're gonna wear what you want to wear instead of what he wants you to wear? Like, he wasn't saying you have to wear this all the time. It was a specific night, you know, and it's like, don't ask him if you're worried about what he's gonna tell you to wear. If you want to please him, wear what he asked you to wear, because that was the whole point. And it's like, I don't really think that the other people that are putting their 2 cents in really should matter, because their judgment shouldn't really matter, because this is something between her and she was trying to do to her dude, and I don't know. I would just kind of look at it like, I'm not asking for other people's opinions. I'm not trying to please my friends. I'm trying to please my man. So, and it wasn't like, this is what I want you to wear every day for the rest of our marriage. It was like they're talking about a one night thing. So I would probably go. I wouldn't read so much into it as far as like he wants me to dress like a slut every day, and you know. So
That's
that's my.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually fucking agree with it's fucking crazy. So when it comes to this, I I would say kind of the same thing. You asked him a question, he gave you an answer, and you're scared of the answer. That's your fucking fault entirely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, he gave you the answer that maybe you're not looking for, maybe you are, whatever the case. At the end of the day, he gave you an answer. He told you what he wants. Now, if you want to do it or not, that's completely up to you. But you know the answer to the question that you asked. Um, when it comes to her friends are being very fucking annoying and pretentious and just, giving their 2 cents on a situation they know nothing about. They have no fucking idea. I guarantee them bitches are single too. So, at the end of the day, you're speaking from a position that you know nothing about. So, they're taking this to heart, which, I mean, shit, I'm not gonna lie, not to be.
I know they want to character assassinate the guy because he wants her to wear a dress. I mean,
Yeah, I
calm
mean,
down, girls.
yeah,
Mind
not to
yours.
be sexist or anything, but sounds like something women would do, to be honest. So, at that point, again, do what he told you to do. To be honest with you, if I were to give a prescription, I would say if the dress is actually slutty and revealing, don't do it because it probably goes against like a moral thing. But like, if you don't give a shit about that, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? If you don't care about that, if you have no real moral foundation that would tell you this is wrong to do, then I don't see why you wouldn't do it. And if you do have that moral foundation, then just talk to him and be like, hey, listen, I don't think this doesn't feel right to me. Is there any other way? Maybe in the bedroom you'd want me to wear some lingerie, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's maybe a sundress. Maybe that looks sexy to him. Who knows? But try to find a different thing to do at that point.
It is possible to wear a tight dress and carry yourself in a way that garners you respect. I think a lot of it is in the way that you carry yourself in the dress to begin with.
Yeah, I think that to a certain degree, you're going to the way you dress can override how you carry yourself at the end of the day. Because I don't care if a girl who's wearing a crop top and some booty shorts is, conducting herself like a lady. That just off the way she dresses, I'm already throwing that whole lady thing out the fucking window. And I think most people kind of think of it that way as well. When the first thing you notice about somebody is the way they look. Whether you think about it or not, the first thing you see is the first thing you see. You know what I mean? Once you get to start knowing, you start to get to know them a little bit. You talk to them. You see what they're like and things of that nature. Maybe it'll change your mind, but the first thing you see is obviously the first thing you see. And at that point, you build a lot of judgments in 1 second of looking at somebody. And I think if you're dressing very provocatively, or you're dressing, a little bit revealing and stuff like that, a lot of the time, even women do this to each other. The first thing somebody will think is she's a slut, or she's a thought, or she's a hoe, or something. What was that?
That sounds to me like more like this dude just wanted to show his wife off for a night too. And a lot of guys, they get off on being the guy in the room that has the hot girl next to him.
What a fucking cuck.
But it's you'd be amazed at how many guys like just want to prance you around on their arm.
No, I know there's a lot of guys out there who are cucks, but I think that to a certain degree, at the end of the day, if that's not like, especially if she feels like that's something that will like compromise her morality, because I know there's a lot. I mean, to me personally, I would never let my fiance walk out of the house and we're going to a public place and she's wearing a tight fitting dress with her back showing and a slit in for her leg and shit. That's never happening, not for a single day. I think if she has those convictions, I think you should stick to your convictions, and I think you should tell her.
Yeah, but you gotta realize this girl is also complaining about not getting laid at home too. So there's you right there.
Yeah, I think there's. I mean, if anything, try to find a different way. Like I said, there might be like something you can wear in the bedroom. Maybe like some lingerie, maybe some sort of like some hot like nurse's outfit or some shit. Maybe he has like a fucking role play kink or some shit. Who knows? Try to like dig in deep into that shit. Or maybe there's like another type of dress that is a little more modest, like a sundress. I know guys are into that at times. Or there's a situation that he wants. Or listen, a lot of the time, women don't like to think about this. Maybe you're just fucking fat. Or maybe you're just really skinny. You know what I mean? And maybe if you're too skinny, maybe he likes a girl with some extra meat on the bones. You know what I mean? And at that point, just eat a little more, sister. Or maybe you're too fat and maybe you should start eating a little less. And, maybe that's what he likes. But you just got to figure out what he likes, and kind of look into that, because it could.
Yeah, you can't marry somebody and then let your whole like appearance go to hell. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You got to take care of yourself. Can't let yourself go. You can't let yourself. I mean, a big aspect. People don't like to say this because people like to be nice or whatever. But a big aspect of a relationship is attraction. Especially at the beginning of a relationship, you're not going to be with somebody you're not attracted to. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of life. So, you gotta focus on being healthy, being fit, things of that nature.
Yeah, you can't marry somebody and then become twice your body size that you were when you got married.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, if you do that, if that happens, don't be surprised when you're going out to the mall or some shit and your husband is staring at a bunch of bitches' asses. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, he can't see that at home. He doesn't get to see that. He only gets to see it in the mall.
Yeah.
So, take care of yourself. Not to say that that's right for him to do because of that, but either way, it happens. Take care of yourself, and see what he likes. Talk to him more deeply about maybe some of his sexual kinks or some shit. And if you are hot, like if you're a really hot girl, I'm gonna be real. That boy is gay. Okay, that boy is gay. So be aware of that as well. That could be a possibility. So yeah, that's pretty much all of my thoughts. I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts on that. We can move it on. All right, wonderful. Let's move
I'm
it on.
good, buddy.
Let's see here. Let me close this tab out. Let's open here. All right, wonderful. So let's see what we're gonna get into. First and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about your books. I want to talk about some of kind of what it's about, what it's like, what is the inspiration that goes behind you writing these books, what are the individual books about, and kind of a little bit more logistics, if you don't mind sharing that, a little bit more of the logistics of your deal with that you made. I'm not going to say with who. That's going to be for you to say,
Okay.
but go ahead.
Well, when I was about 12, people started telling me I should write a book because I had a book's worth of stories by the time I was 12. Um, when I was young, my parents were best friends with another couple. The fathers worked together, our moms hung out together, and the other couple, I'm going to use names here because it's just easier. Okay, so my mom and dad were best friends with another couple, Elias and Irene, and my mom hung out with Irene. They were pregnant at the same time. Irene had her son 2 weeks before I was born. Then I was born, so it was like just two couples, best friends like that. And we lived in Brooklyn at the time, and so Lee, the other little boy, and I, we were together since birth. So we were watching TV. When I was about 4, we were watching TV. I was over at his house. We were watching TV, sitting so close to the box television, your face could almost touch it. And his father appeared on the fire escape outside, and which is not something that you see often. And I saw his dad out there, and then there was like this explosion of glass, and he had jumped through the closed window, or he threw something at it. Just glass exploded everywhere. And the next thing I knew, we were on a bus. My mom and Irene and me and the little boy. We were on a bus coming to California. When we got here, as soon as we got here, actually, we rented an apartment in Culver City, and we got into a bad car accident. Except I was the only one that was hurt, and I shattered my orbital rim and had a depressed skull fracture, and I had to have like the left side of my face head rebuilt, basically. So when I got out of the hospital, they had enrolled us in preschool, and we were playing on the preschool yard one day, and I saw two men standing in the doorway of a classroom, and I walked over to Lee, and he said, "Hey, Tricia, there's our dads." So we ran to our dads because we were happy to see them, and they grabbed us and they started running out of the school with us. And so all the administrators and the principal, they were chasing us, and they're running across the parking lot, and they threw us in the back seat of a purple Dodge Charger and sped off with a bunch of teachers chasing the car. And they took us, I'm giving you guys the short version. And then they took us to Arizona. And my dad was unaware I had been in a car accident. But we were living in a motel in Arizona. Now, at this point in time, our mothers get the call, like, your kids have just been abducted out of school, basically. And so they were on a mission to find us. But the problem was they had become lovers, the two of them. So going to the police was not really an option back then. So long story short, they found us. They staked out the motel, and they waited till we were left alone, and they came and they kidnapped us back. And then we went back to California. They ended up breaking up, and my mom got a new girlfriend. Then when I was like 8, they sat me down and they were like, "Hey, Tricia, we just want to let you know that, we're in a relationship together. and we love each other. And I was like, cool, I love her too. Can I go play now? And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think I missed that. How old were you at this point?
about 8.
About 8. Okay. Okay.
So
Maddie, you had something to say? I'm sorry.
No, I was just laughing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
so so I said, um, they said, no. Also, Trisha, you really shouldn't tell anybody at school about this because you might get bullied and stuff. And I was like, well, why? What does that have to do with me? You know? And they just said, well, people are mean and, kids can be mean and stuff. So you probably shouldn't like mention it. So the way that translated into my 8-year-old brain was no one can ever find out about this or like my life is going to be over. So I personally didn't have a problem with them being together. I had never even thought of it as odd because my mom had always been with women. So it wasn't like anything different or strange to me. It was just the way it was. And when you're that age, you just don't care. You're not thinking about who's sleeping with who. So the next 5 years, I did not speak. I did not speak to anyone at school. I did not look at anyone at school. I just did not want anybody to have any opportunity whatsoever want to be my friend. So that relationship ended up failing. Then my mom got with a musician, and then a lot of drug use came into play, and my mom started drinking a lot, and it was a lot of years of me just worrying about her, and praying she's not going to die out there. And then we had to leave California because my mom got arrested like 6 times, probably in 6 weeks for DUI. So we ended up going to West Virginia to where her ex-girlfriend lived. And she ultimately abandoned me there in 6 feet of snow. So there was a lot of mixed messages, kind of, because this is the same woman who had, kidnapped me back from my father, only to like abandon me when I was 12 years old in the snow. So I was sent to my father when I was 12 and pretty much, you know, enrolled in regular middle school. And I had not been around any boys. I had not been around any straight couples. I had not been around any children at all. I had only been around lesbians and a very twisted home life. And so I was kind of expected to just go be a normal teenager. And so I was like, vanity was not a part of like my growing up. It was like people didn't tell me you're pretty, or there was no makeup in my house. There were high heels and dresses to put on. It was like I didn't have a sense of my identity, really. Like I didn't know. I had almost no experience with boys at all. So it's kind of it's the book is about. Also, let me interject here. I got a settlement for my car accident, which my mom ended up taking. She took a loan out against it and didn't pay it back, so they took my money. So I had to go to court to get my money back for when I turned 18. And then I had a boyfriend who um, I had known throughout middle school, and he kind of came out of nowhere, and we started hanging out all the time. And he was my boyfriend, and he was like the perfect boyfriend. And basically, what ended up happening was he found out I was going to get this money, and he pretended to be my boyfriend so he could get his hands on it. And so I gave him like $6,000. I think the day I got my settlement, I had to go to court and fight for it. But when I got it, I gave him $6,000. And then the next day, I went to his house like I always did, and he had hickeys all over his neck. And I was like, what the fuck? you know? And so I called him a slut, and he started like just kicking the shit out of me. And for the next 3 years, I let him pretty much beat it into my head that this guy was really just after my money, and the guy I thought I loved was not actually in there. So a lot of just a lot of bad things happened, but I learned a lot, and I'm not toxic, and I'm not. I mean, that's just like the first. That's basically the book one for the most part.
It's yeah.
Um,
You had mentioned that it's kind of like a memoir of your experiences in life and things of that nature.
yeah, I mean that's like the really watered down version, but those are the basic things. It's a lot about finding my way and learning how to. When my mom left me, I basically, every adult in my life had disappointed me to the point where I didn't trust what any of them said or did. I guided myself a lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you were like forced to be independent at that point at such a young age.
Yeah, because I didn't trust. I mean, I couldn't trust my dad. He snatched me out of school. You know, it was just a lot of betrayal, a lot of betrayal over my money. Just I've dealt with a lot of betrayal, and so you can either let those things define you and become a person who's all closed up and you know, or just taking out your misery on everyone else. Or you can learn how to heal from things and become resilient and strong, but still soft. I haven't lost my optimistic attitude. I still am open to loving people. I mean, I'm smarter and wiser, but I think that God gives us all gifts. When we're born, we have gifts, and my kind of philosophy is just because somebody hurts me or they do something bad to me, I'm not going to take on their characteristics and become like them. I'm going to remain the good person that I am because I'm not, those are my gifts from God that I'm not going to let anybody take from me or change how I am or make me bitter or, I'm not going out like that. And, so I don't let people change me. I learn, but I don't let them change who I am at my core.
Yeah, you take you kind of learn
Take the
from what they
lesson.
did. You don't let them change
I take the
what you
lesson.
are. Yeah.
I take the lesson. Yeah, I take the lesson and I dump the garbage that I don't carry that with me, and I don't let bad things that have happened to me, derail me, and it's just not gonna define who I am. But you can decide what if something you can we can decide how we're gonna let something affect us. If we're gonna be like, woe is me, and we have this victim mentality. And you have to like know that life is going to be difficult. A lot of shitty things are going to happen. There's a lot of shitty people in the world, and you have to be able to, when that stuff comes at you, you have to be strong. You have to like learn the lesson and move on, and don't get stuck. A lot of people get stuck in running in place. They can't move on. They can't get health. They can't find healthy relationships because of they haven't had bad examples. But you can learn how to do those things correctly. And it's you can't blame your childhood. You can't spend your adulthood blaming your childhood for what your life is or isn't. It's you have to become something in spite of your childhood. And decide what kind of life you want to live and what kind of example you as a human being. So
Yeah, so would you say the first book is like just simply a memoir, or is it kind of like a memoir of the bad experiences you've had in your life and kind of like a way to or kind of like a flip through it and
it's like as I was writing it, I was reflecting on what my thought process was at the time and how it changed over time with because the rate that things came at me was like rapid fire. I mean, before I could even recover
I
from
mean,
the
yeah, you
car
were super
accident,
young at
I was
that
getting
point.
I was
Super young.
I mean, I was getting kidnapped. My mom was gone, and then I was getting kidnapped again. And then it was like I lost. When I was like 7 years old, I had lost the little kid who had I basically been by my side from the day I was born, and I never got to see him anymore. So I had that abandonment there. It was a lot of like very sudden changes all the time. You know, so it's like adjusting and getting your footing.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that first book would be that, and so the second book is kind of going to be more of the same, or what are
Well,
you thinking about doing for that one?
the first book only got me to writing the first book, and believe me, it's really just one event right into the next. I could not edit it down anymore. There's nothing I could really take out of it to make it shorter, and it's already a full length memoir, and I'm only to the age of 25, and and all the things I just said. That's like not even the half of the things. It kept going on and on and on.
So you're
Kept
gonna
coming at me.
do like a volume two kind of thing, or
Yeah, yeah, and then probably volume 3 will be like my spiritual awakening experience after all that.
okay, okay. And tell us a little bit a little bit more about your the deal that you made with with that company or whatever the case. How did that come
Well,
about and things of that nature?
well, you're gonna probably laugh at this. Well, first of all, when you want to get a book published, you really need to have a literary agent if you want to, be on bookshelves in stores. You really have to. It's an investment. You have to have an editor. You have to get a literary agent. You're talking like $100,000 and upwards to even try to market your book to even get in front of somebody to read it. It's very difficult. It's not. You can't just send your manuscript in like you used to be able to back in the day. It doesn't work that way. So I actually had a question about serial nonfiction, if there was a platform for that. So I just decided to call up Barnes and Noble Publishing to ask a question. And I asked my question, and they said they weren't sure, so they wanted to head to a senior person. And when I was waiting on hold, I was thinking, I'm getting a senior person here, right inside the publishing company. I'm just gonna like go for it. And so I said, look, check it out. Like I already know like the different ways you can, publish a book. The self-publishing, the hybrid way, and traditional. And I said, and actually, what I need is I need somebody to, pass a note to the CEO, or whisper in his ear or something, because I need to cut to the front of the line. Because whoever snatches me up, I'm going to make them a lot of money. And it's nothing for you guys to give me an editor and, you know, give me a cover designer and somebody to format it. And I will make us both money. And then I got an emergency call. And I had to get off the phone, so I didn't even get a chance to leave my phone number with them. And I just told them I'd call them back. They must have had caller ID or something, because they started calling me the next day. And yeah, they made me an offer. I was on the phone with them for like 3 hours. They made me an offer to publish 3 books for me. And so, yeah, I just kind of took advantage of the situation, the opportunity that was inadvertently in front of me. So that's what I did. And it
That's
paid off.
that's wonderful. Again, congratulations on that. That's actually
Well,
really
that's what
cool how that
I told
works.
them too. Well, I told them too. I said, my goal is to, you know, publish the book, but then I want to write it into a screenplay and then sell it as a movie. So
I
Oh,
mean,
that's
that'd be wonderful.
yeah, I mean, at that
so that's
point, you got the Barnes and Noble coming, like they're contacting you. We'll see. Maybe Lionsgate contacts you or something. Who knows?
yeah.
Or Netflix, make it a series.
Well, because honestly, like there's always a market for a story that hasn't been told, right? And so I was a child in the '70s of a gay mother in a, you know, that was not acceptable back then. So there's really no stories from the child's perspective back at that time, in that period of time. Um, so that's going to appeal to probably the LGBTQ community, which is large. And it's I mean, the whole kidnapping thing is like, also the thing too, when I was growing up, if you could have alcoholic parents, you could get molested or whatever, and you're going to find other people that has happened to as well. But you're really not going to find somebody else that's been kidnapped. You're not going to be like, oh, hey, I was kidnapped. Oh, yeah, me too. It's kind of like you're in a place by yourself in that experience. You don't really have anybody to compare notes with, because you just don't know anybody else that's happened to.
It's much
Uh,
more rare,
and
much more.
yeah, and same thing with my mom being gay. I didn't know anybody else who had gay parents, so it even turned out like I didn't even undercover have any friends that had gay parents so that was another thing that I couldn't really talk to anybody about. It was just like a secret.
Okay, okay. Well,
So it's
well,
a unique, I guess, is a unique perspective and a unique growing up.
well. I can't wait. I can't wait till it comes out. Is there any sort of like estimated time for that, like release date or anything like that, or
I'm gonna say 4 to 6 weeks, is
from
what
today?
yeah, they have the manuscript now. They start working on it. It's actually, it's not even complete. This one's not complete, but it's close to complete. So they start, because there's a lot of work that has to go into editing. But they're not changing my story or anything. They're just kind of, they do the
Yeah, the
formatting
revisions
and all
and
that.
they're
And then like
revising
they're already,
everything.
yeah, they have a design team. They start working on your book cover. And you toss around your ideas, and you have to come. I haven't even thought about the cover because I'm more concerned with the content. But So it's like a machine, that takes your manuscript and creates a professional book out of it. But it's cool. It's super cool because you're part of the whole process, and the decision maker. So it's exciting, and it's daunting. It's exciting. You know, you have to sell the book too. It's not just like, oh, you're there. And most people don't get rich off writing a book. So the work is just beginning.
Yeah, a lot of it,
So
and I think this is kind of like how it is with a lot of different things, especially with the podcasting scene as well, and just anything you would sell in general. Um,
they're launching a podcast for me, which I couldn't believe. And they promised me like they're booking me on like 5 podcasts that are relevant to, and I'll have like a 15 to 20 minutes to promote my book on those. So they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot for me.
that's cool. That's awesome. I'm like I said, congratulations. That's awesome to hear. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean a lot of it is like it's like 10% what you're selling and like 90% marketing of that thing. Like if nobody knows what you're selling, then nobody's gonna buy it. So it's very that's the tough cookie at the end of the day. It's you can be creative and you can make a product or you can make a service or you can make a entertainment that's good, but if nobody knows
Yeah.
it exists, that's the lock that you
It
need to crack.
definitely helps having some big guns behind you like Barnes and Noble,
Oh,
you know.
100%,
Uh,
100%.
so that the weight of just having them as my publisher is, something to be proud of. And also I want to deliver for them as well,
Oh, for sure. I
because
mean,
they're putting a lot of work in as well,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, and they're like really super cool. They're like, well, we'll do the legwork. You just write, you know,
Yeah.
which is it's great to be like free to just write and get the content created.
Yeah, they give you that free reign
So
to be able to just be creative, and then they'll deal with the rest.
yeah, but the clock is ticking because if you release book one, book two better be right behind it. Otherwise, people forget all about book two,
No, yeah.
and
Yeah.
where the story kind of takes off, and it gets pretty wild. Book two is not too definitely it's not going to disappoint. Book two is pretty crazy too.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, I hope everything goes well with that, and I hope I hope the best when it comes to your new book release, and
Thank you.
all the subsequent ones and the podcast coming out as well. Just all your ventures. I hope everything
I'll
goes
have you
well.
guys as guests too.
That
I'll
would
have you
be
guys as guests
yeah, that
sometime.
would that would actually be awesome. Yeah, we would
That
love
would
that.
be great.
Keep aware, keep your eyes peeled for that, guys, if you're interested in that. But just to kind of move away from that now and moving on to a different thing, you have several disagreements with me, specifically. Uh,
I wouldn't
what's
say that they're disagreements. I would say just things that I kind of wanted to bring to your attention or ask you about.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
What's kind of the biggest one that you kind of have in like, um, kind of like a
I
want to
think.
ask me about?
Well, I wanted to ask you. Okay, you were talking about a few weeks ago, I think it was. Your view. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that you think that women should be trying to find their mate right out of high school and be looking to get married right away? Correct.
Yeah, I think it's a waste of time for women to be going to college. I think they should be focused on looking for, kind of looking to start a family, looking for a husband. Putting yourself in a good situation for that. Usually, that's kind of in the church areas and being religiously affiliated, and finding that husband and having a family with him.
Okay, that sounds great and everything, but like here's the reality. 60% of couples married between ages 21 to 25 will end in divorce. 65% of divorced mothers receive no child support. So when you say to a woman that she's not doing anything is like going to college or getting some life skills or a way to support herself right out of the gate, um, she better hope that she's um, amongst the 40%, 35% of women who actually get child support, marriage fails. Because the last thing I would suggest for any female is don't get married before if you can't support yourself, because a lot of marriages unfortunately end in divorce. And the thing is that you can find yourself in a situation where you can't leave because you can't support yourself. And what if your dude starts cheating on you? You're stuck there. And that's a really shitty place to be. And it's like, let's see here. I have a couple of some of the main reasons for divorce. Infidelity is 55%, married too young 46%, lack of equality in the relationship. There's a good 44%, and unrealistic expectations. So now you're already getting the deck stacked against you just getting married that young. And not only that, those marriages in that young time frame end within 10 years, the first 10 years of marriage. And also, if your parents married other people after getting divorced themselves, you have a 91%, you're 91% more likely to get divorced. And these statistics come from the CDC, the latest available on the CDC website. And 43% of children born in the US are being raised without a father in the home. So as a woman, you are really setting yourself up to be in a bad situation. And listen, I love love stories. I want people's, I love love. I really do. I want people to be successful, but I think that you statistics don't lie, and I think the more that you set yourself up for success, the more things you have on the success side going for you, the better off you're going to be, because that's a lot, and I'm sure you consider, we all think, we're not going to, everyone that gets married doesn't get married thinking they're going to get divorced, but shit happens. So I just wanted to present that side of the coin to you. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the outcomes, especially in today's society, are not great at all. And I think they're, to a certain degree, they're worse for men. So, when it comes to the outcomes we see today, my prescription, if I'm looking just at the outcomes, would be, men shouldn't get married. Men, you should not marry women, and if you do, sign a prenup immediately, but don't get married to them if you can avoid it. But I don't, at the end of the day, I think that that'll probably amount for a worse society than we have right now. I think a lot of the biggest things that kind of amount to the statistics and the figures that you're citing is a lot of the biggest things that's kind of been going on recently, and that's feminism. That's the idea that you shouldn't get married, and actually what you should do is go into the workforce and find your career and things that prioritize that.
But if men were so good at supporting women, why did we have to get out into the and do it ourselves?
I mean, you didn't.
Number one,
you didn't.
Okay. Well, you know what? If there's not a whole, overabundance of guys that are looking to support you.
Yeah, because women aren't looking for support anymore. I mean, when you want to tout yourselves as
at some point, but at some point in time, we've been let down and feel like we have had to take it upon ourselves, because, like, look at this. I mean, 40. What is it? Where did it go? 43% of children don't have a father in the home. So where are no one? What about? Are you just supposed to like hope that you don't these 43 that is stuck without a dude to help you pay the kids by yourself?
Oh, well, I mean, I think 43% is less than half, actually. So you would say that there's probably actually more there's a higher chance that you'll have a man who will stay in the home. But even furthermore to that, regardless of what you see in these statistics, they're all because of the idea that women should go out into the workforce right out of high school, that they should not prioritize starting a family. All these different ideas that have been pushed into women, this indoctrination of, be a boss, babe, get your career, don't think about kids, don't think about family, is the reason why these men are doing the same thing. At the end of the day, men are adapting to women's choices and what they decided to do. You've decided to be career women, that's fine.
Men run the country. What are you talking about? The men have created an economy where we can't survive on income household.
Men have created that economy because they gave y'all the right to vote, and they gave y'all the ability to go to work, and they made that more they made that more predominant in today's society. That's why the one income household is not a thing anymore. It's a thing of the past. Why? Because women have gone into work more. If you guys would have stayed at home, if you guys would have actually stayed, and if things would have been the way they were prior to feminism, prior to the suffragette movement and all that, we would still be in a position where men would stay home, or rather men would provide for women, and they would provide for their families, and women would stay home and take care of the kids and take care of the home.
Okay, so but that's the past, and that's not the way it is now. So you got to deal with what's going on nowadays, because the way things were is thinking in your plans to fit in.
I'm sorry, I don't know if that's my connection, Maddie. Is that my connection or?
No, she keeps cutting out. It's hard to hear her.
Yeah, you're cutting out a lot.
Can you guys? Is it clear?
Nah, you keep cutting out.
You are too. Let's see.
Maybe it's just positioning. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm sitting in the same place I was. Is it better now?
Yeah, both of you guys sound better now.
Yeah, it's better now.
I was just saying that I've listened to a lot of your opinions and things, and I think that I have a question about one thing that sometimes it's not what people say, it's what they don't say. And I'm just curious because I know that you're very pretty rigid and you want to have the male role and the female role, and the wife's going to take care of the kids, and you know, but I don't know if I heard you say anything about your role in the parenting part, because you have said many times on your podcast that your wife is going to take care of the kids, but the father figure is extremely important. And I just was curious as to how much of a role, an active like role in caring for your kids, you see is appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I'm gonna be as active of a father as it's possible to be, I suppose. Obviously, I'm gonna be working, and that's gonna be my priority is providing and having bringing home the provisions for the family to be able to feed them and have them be under a roof, clothed, and etc. That's my priority at the end of the day. And then obviously, again, as much as I'm able to be present and be with them, that's as much as I'm gonna be. I love kids. Kids are I'm a very big family man. I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and I love them like they're my own kids. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna be a
That's
very
good.
big. I'm gonna be very involved as a father. If that's kind of your question, I suppose. I'm gonna be very involved as much as I can be again. But
That's
if
great.
it just so happens that there's kind of like a lack of funds and we're running low, and we might not be able to pay the rent or whatever, I will defer to getting two jobs versus you know anything else. Like that would be my first possibility, I guess, if you want to call it that. But yeah.
I think that if I could give you some unsolicited advice, I would be not so, you've been with your fiance for what you said 4 years, right? So you guys pretty much know each other. But do you mind if I ask if you're living together?
Yeah, we are. Which is not a good
Okay.
idea at all, by the way. If anybody's listening to
No,
this, do
no.
not do that shit.
Oh, well, there you go. Your actual divorce rate skyrockets after that, but
Yeah,
only
yeah.
because people don't only because people tend to not have the same level of commitment when they've already lived together. But we're not going to jinx you or anything.
No, I agree
Um,
completely. I think that it's a really dumb idea to cohabitate prior to marriage. I think that's really, really stupid. The fact that I'm doing it myself, I should pinch myself. I should slap myself in the face. But if anybody's listening to this and you have a choice in front of you, cohabitate or get married and then then live together and everything, do not cohabitate prior to marriage. Do not do that at
yeah,
all.
but if you can't live together before you get married, what makes you think you're going to be able to live together afterward?
I mean, it's the
If you
same
can't be
thing
happy.
as somebody saying, "Oh, wow, what makes you think that you're gonna be sexually compatible?" It's like at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. If you guys like each other, if you guys are compatible morally and things of that nature, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Just live together and
I
start a
think that,
family and things of that nature. I think that whole idea that I need to experience before I'm able to be sure of this is so
I
ridiculous.
I think I think that you are simplifying things that you probably should not so easily brush away. One thing I would tell you is, look, when you're going to find that, like, for instance, when I was married, I was better with money, right? So I handled all the bills and paying the bills because I was better at it. And even though he was the man, sometimes you should just each take the role in you're which one of you is better at doing certain things, because it makes the weight of the marriage easier. It makes it's a machine, right? It's a family that's got to run, and not being so hung up on like, oh, girl thing to do, or this is the male thing to do. just do what it takes to have a cohesive union. It
All right,
is
what if y'all
more
think?
important.
What if you think that
It's
that's
more
like?
important.
What if y'all disagree as to like how you should run that or how you should handle that? Who would have the final say? Or who would kind of defer to who at that point, or would you kind of
Okay,
just?
here's what I would tell you. I've also heard you speak a lot on that you will listen to your wife, but you're the ultimate decision maker. And here's what happens if you decide to take that side, that stance. If you ask your wife, discussing like you want to buy a house or you don't want to buy, and let's say you don't agree with her, right? And you decide to do the opposite of what she wanted in anything. Now, regardless of you whether you have the say so, that's fine, but that is going to plant a seed of resentment. Okay, if it continues to happen on a regular basis, and you're more often you're just doing what you want because you're the man of the house, resentment builds and it's like a cancer, and it's not good for a relationship at all, because it festers. It's like a cancer, and it starts to affect everything. And women want to be. You need to have a goal of having an equal partnership. And the thing is, instead of saying like it's going to be my way, I'll make the final decision maker. You should be more shoot for how can we compromise so that we're both happy.
Yeah, but what if you
You know,
can't? You know, like there's definitely going to be circumstances where you can't, right? So you're going to have two decisions to make, or you're going to have multiple decisions, and you're not going to agree on the decision. And there's no room for compromising sometimes, and you have to agree that that's true.
give me an
There's
example.
certain instances. So for example, there's going to be, for example, there's only one Catholic school. You know, the man is a Catholic, the husband is a Catholic. You know, it's a Catholic family, and you got a public school that's 5 minutes away, and you got a Catholic
I
school
heard
that's
this,
20 minutes away, and that's the only
and I was
Catholic
going
school around. What was that?
to. I know I heard this on your podcast, and I wanted to actually bring this up to you because I wanted to add something. Because you want your kids to go to the one that's 20 minutes away, right? And you said, well, she's a stay-at-home mom or whatever. Okay, but here's something that this. And I'm not picking a side here. I'm just saying this is something else that you should take into consideration when you have young kids in school, especially if you have like 2 or 3 kids at school. Now, it's the school is 20 minutes away. Okay, as opposed to 5, which means if your kid is sick, your kids are going to get sick multiple times. You're going to have to go to the school to pick them up. Multiple times you're going to have to go. They're going to pee their pants at school. You're going to have to bring a change of clothes. They're going to be having award ceremonies. They're going to be having teacher conferences. And what turns into a 20-minute drive to school once a day can very well end up being 3 times there, 3 times back, depending on how many kids you have. And that's going to be so it's not 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes if your kids you only have to go there twice.
I mean, yeah, but
So
regardless of your reasoning why it wouldn't be a good idea or whatever the case may be,
I'm not saying it's not a good
that would
idea.
be
I'm just saying
feasibly
it's something.
that would
I'm
feasibly
just saying
be
it's
like
consider.
that would feasibly be part of the argument between the husband and the wife at that point. But at the end of the day, if he says, "I don't care," at the end of the day, it's better for our child to go to the Catholic school because there's a lot of indoctrination in the public schools or whatever reasons he gives, right? There's going to be a debate there. There's going to be an argument between the two of them. Who is going to adhere to who? Because at the end of the day, if he says, okay, they'll go to the one that's 5 minutes away, he is doing what she wants. That's plain and simple.
But I would ask, okay, if you're both Catholic, then why the argument against the Catholic school to begin with?
Distance.
If your morals,
It's
if your morals are so
it's
well,
distance.
I mean, distance. But if you're that morally, you know, morally into your religion, that should probably override, the fact that it's a little bit further away.
I mean, I don't know. To
If
me,
it's not
I
dedicated,
guess
you
like just based off of my own experiences, women tend to be a little bit kind of selfish, I guess, for lack of a better word, in the sense of kind of what goes out of their way or what's more like what's more efficient or whatever the case, at least for me and for
I
her
think
in
that
that case.
well,
So to a certain degree, it'd be like, oh, it's 20 minutes away. I'm not like I can drive 5 minutes and the kids will be at school, or it's walking distance or whatever, versus having to drive 20 minutes and the kids, I'm not trying to do that. It's 20 minutes out of my way, or it's 30 minutes out of my way, and I'm not trying to go and drive over there. Like it's walking. The public school is walking distance. Like there's.
what's the cost difference?
What was that?
What's the monetary difference as far as paying for Catholic school as
There
opposed
would
to
there would be
public.
no hindrance at that point. Like
Okay.
this is with the assumption that the cost or whatever the case wouldn't matter to the family.
Uh,
Like the man is making more than
Okay.
enough to be able to support that.
Okay. Yeah. That I was just curious. That's all.
No, yeah, no, for sure. But at
Like I
that
was just saying,
point,
if your family can afford it and stuff, I mean, there's a definite difference in public schools and Catholic schools. But that's ultimately that's a hard one for somebody that's not, you know, that doesn't believe in organized religion to answer.
no, yeah, but I mean, I think even at
I only wanted to point out the fact that you're probably going to be making more than like one often there. That was my only thing to point out to you. Um,
no, I
but
mean,
yeah,
I think yeah, I think at the end of the day, that there's feasibly going to be more instances where you're going to have a disagreement. There's going to be a choice on the table, and it's really going to be black and white, and it's going to
yeah,
be
that's a good, yeah.
it's feasible for that to be a possibility. And so in that case, who do we if there's a real impasse here and neither of them can agree with each
Okay,
other.
well, here's what I would suggest. How I would suggest presenting it to your fiance in this way. How about we try it for a year and see how it works out and see if it's doable. If it's that much of a problem, we can revisit the conversation a year from now and take it and bring it up for discussion again.
Okay, and so
That way
then
you're not
yeah,
that way
so
you're not
you do it for
shutting
a
somebody
year.
out.
So you do it for a year, and
Yeah.
then she still has
It's a
the
compromise.
same problem, and then he still has the same belief. What do you do there?
Okay, that's fine. But the point is that you've now taken in, you've compromised in your rigid position. You're giving room there for somebody to not be just shut out and their decision not to
Yeah,
matter.
but again,
Like,
what you're
okay,
doing,
look,
it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same consequence because
how,
all you're doing
how
is
do you
just
know?
delaying it. Because you're just delaying it. Listen, this is my hypothetical to you. If a year from now, we say, listen, right now, let's just do it for a year. Let's see how it goes. A year from now comes. The man has the same opinion. The woman has the same opinion. They disagree on the school. What do you do there? At the end of the day,
Well,
like, what do you
okay,
do at that point?
here's what you probably don't you think it's just going to be so black and white, but now the kids have friends. They've developed friendships. Now you've got your friends with other parents. You're much less likely to school that where they're already established now. So that conversation coming up a year later, the wife might go, you know what, they're best now that she's got a best friend. Our daughter has a best friend, and they're like tied to hips every day. And you talking about now you're separating your kid and making them go to school. They don't know anybody, and most parents don't want to disrupt their children's lives like that. So where you gave up a little bit of leeway in the beginning, ultimately probably would end up working out your way in the long run. But you're compromising, and you're still getting your way. Do you understand? It's the way you present things to a woman as well,
Yeah, so I mean, at the end
without
of the
the
day, I think at this point, it's pretty much just like trying to make her feel better at the end of the day. Because look, at the end of the day, this is kind of how it goes. If you disagree at the beginning and you disagree after a year, somebody's going to have to make a decision. And so if you do the Catholic school, you're going to be doing what the man wants. And then the woman's probably not going to like that very much. And then if you do the public school, the man's going to be doing what the woman wants. And the man's probably not going to like that very much. So you know what I say? Instead of, how about let's compromise and let's do it this way. No, how about we do what the fuck I say? She's going to the Catholic school. That's the final say. That's the final thing about it. I don't want to hear nothing else about it. That's it. And so we're gonna do it that way because that's what I say and what I say goes, and that's it, plain and simple. And so when you leave it up for debate, when you leave it up for conversation, and when you leave it up for choices, we have both equal say or whatever the case. If anything, to me personally, that builds more of a resentment because then we're just fighting all the time about things we disagree on, and there's nobody making a final decision. We're just fighting all the time, and there's certain decisions where it really truly is black and white, and we're never agreeing on these things, and it's always just whatever you want or whatever I want or whatever you want, and it's never going to be good.
If there's that much disagreement in your relationship, then you probably should rethink getting married.
Well, see, then that's when you get to a point where that's why the divorce rate is so high, because we get to a point where, we disagree on a certain topic, so we probably shouldn't get married. No, of course not. You're going to disagree on a lot of things. You're going to disagree on a lot of things. There's going to be a very big number of things that you do not agree on. And at the end of the day, if you keep to a standard where you say,
I disagree with that because I think that this whole concept of like marriage is all this work and stuff. First of all, it's not that difficult. First of all, you should be marrying somebody that for the most part, really agree on a lot of things, really have the same. You should not get married to somebody if there's that much disagreement going on because it's gonna get worse. You should marry somebody that, for the most part, you get along most % of the time. And there's the only things that pop up here and there, but like, daily arguments and stuff like that. That's not a good. It's just not a good way to start off.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I
I mean,
agree with
you
you.
guys are young. You
Yeah,
guys are young. I'm talking. You talk to me 10 years down the line and see how much patience you have left for arguing all the time. It's going to be like you're done. You get done with shit like that. And I'm just telling you, as somebody, I've been 20 years into a relationship. I know what long term, getting along with somebody long term, what it takes to do it. And I don't consider the fact that I'm divorced a failure, because I was successful in my marriage for 20 years. And not a lot of people can say that they've had a successful relationship for 20 years.
Yeah, but I mean, to a certain degree, it did end up failing after 20 years either way.
But you know what? I don't look at it as a failure, because it would have been a failure had I stayed in an unhappy relationship and kept modeling that for my kids. What takes more strength is to walk away from something before it gets ugly.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, it would just be perspective. But I mean, to a certain degree,
it's not a failure to insist on your own happiness in life, and when you don't when you're in a relationship and you're not making each other happy anymore, it's time to forget what society says. I mean, stay in a relationship while you're both happy and it's still good and a good, healthy relationship. If it turns toxic and gets like that, move on. Life is too short to spend it in unhappy unions.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, there's a higher duty that we kind of aim for. So especially when there's kids involved, I think that statistically speaking, there's going to be there's a much higher likelihood of successful lives for kids when they have an intact family household, even if the marriage isn't quote unquote happy. But
kids want to see their parents happy more than they want to see them together. Remember that.
No, that's not true at all. I mean, the statistics don't even align with that. So when you look at the statistics for unhappy marriages, quote unquote, the kids' outcomes actually turn out better than if the parents were to have divorced. The outcomes are just far and away better at that point. And also when it comes to the family dynamic, it turns out to be better as well, because then the father doesn't leave possibly, or there's no dispute as to custody, and that's also stressful. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So when it comes to kids. When it comes to kids and how you handle a relationship that you're not quote unquote happy in, there's a certain degree of selflessness where you say, you know what, I'm going to put my happiness aside because I have children in this equation, and the kids are going to be are more important than whatever I believe my happiness is. Now, of course, there's going to be certain instances where that changes or whatever the case. Every instance is different, but at that point, marriages are a lot less what I feel and what you feel and what duty is at the end of the day. That's why it says for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer.
But you're speaking on an idealized version of what you think marriage is, and I'm telling you, lived a long one and been in it, and not only that, I had a 5-year relationship before that, and before that as well. So long-term happiness. And I will say this, in my relationship up until the very end, my marriage was a house. We did not talk. We did not disrespect each other, as far as we didn't call each other names. We didn't throw shit. We didn't get in crazy arguments, because I did everything his way, and the way he wanted it. Probably modeled very closely to the kind of wife be looking for, deferred to him, let him have his way, and over time, I was very unhappy doing that, because I didn't even matter in the relationship anymore, and people that are used to getting their way, they want their way all the time. And then there's a lot less appreciation that's shown to others. They do a lot. And there's a reason why courts, recognize a stay-at-home mom as the same monetary value as a man work. There's a reason that's recognized by the in the United States, because it's a job.
That's also ridiculous, to be honest.
It's a job, and it's a thankless one.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, to be honest.
And the attitude that you have about that, I'm telling you, is going to come back and bite you in the ass.
I think at the end of the day, listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to mothers, they're very important. And I think that the idea that motherhood is very important is lost on today's society. I think that, we've kind of pushed young women to go into the workforce. We pushed them to go into schools and learn a bunch of things and, kind of set up their careers. What was that?
I thought we were doing that on our own by insisting on it.
Well, I mean, it's also, I mean, women are much more propagandized than men are. They're much more easily propagandized than men are. And so when we push propaganda down women's throats, where it's, oh, you should be a boss babe, you should go and get a career started, you should go to school, you should go work or whatever, make your own money, all this type of stuff. Women are going to see that and they're going to do it. At the end of the day,
Wait a second. You just said that women are more, what was the word you used?
they're
Propagandized?
they're easier
We
to
just had,
propagandize than men are.
we just had the entire Democratic Party trying to get men hanging out in little girls' locker rooms and playing sports on their teams, dude. Really?
What are you talking about? What does that have to do with anything?
I'm saying like the whole party of Democrats were trying to like on the whole like train of let's let boys into our girls' locker rooms. That's pretty propagandized if you ask me.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with my point exactly?
Because you're saying that it's women are more propagandized than men.
They're much more easier to propagandize than men are. Yeah. But how would that disprove my point exactly?
Because there's a lot of men in the Democratic Party, and a lot of the upper positions of the Democrats are men.
Who do you think votes in Democrat candidates? You think
Idiots.
men vote them in?
Well, men and women both vote.
Yeah, but but generally speaking, which sex do you think votes in the Democrat Party more, men or women?
I don't know actually the number of broken down. I believe more men vote than women.
All right. Well,
I'm not sure.
I'll tell you one thing. If women did not have the right,
I don't know.
yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
you could look this
I
up
don't know.
after if you would like, just to kind of fact check or whatever the case. But just to kind of let you know, if we did not allow women to vote at all, and if they did not have any representation in voting in the United States, there would be not a single Democrat elected in the history of the United States ever. There would not be, because by far, in a way, women vote Democrat much more than men do, to a degree you would not even believe. And so when we look at the different policies that the Democrat Party passes, LGBTQ, like men going into women's sports, men going into girls' bathrooms, this is all supported by women by far comparison to men. Now, of course, you got men out there who support this. I'm not saying, I don't speak in a monolith, but generally, women support this much more than men do, 100%. And so at that point, I mean, that would kind of be into my point where I say women are much more easily propagandized, and we see it there in the Democrat Party just as much at that point. We see it there. Women vote Democrat much more than men do. And so when you look at this, we've told women for decades now that they should be in the workforce, they should go to schools, they should learn, they should get degrees, they should get jobs, and they should make money and all this type of stuff. And women have gone in droves and done that. And what we've seen in society is that the birth rate is lower, the divorce rate is higher, the unhappiness rate for women and men are higher. So what we've seen is that this experiment that we've tried when it comes to feminism and allowing women to vote, making it more socially acceptable for them to go work instead of being in the home and taking care of kids and having children and whatnot. We've seen that that's actually made our society worse than how it was before that. So to me personally, I think we should probably go back to what worked, and that's definitely not feminism.
Well, that's not going to happen, though. I mean, we're not going to go back to that.
I mean, you can say that, but we said a lot of the time that Roe v. Wade was never going to be overturned, and look at that, it got overturned. So I think anything is possible, and with enough propaganda, we'll be all right.
But there's a one glaringly important thing to mention when it comes to Roe versus Wade, and one is that when Roe versus Wade was first passed, they did not have the medical technology to keep babies alive the way that they do now. So you're talking about fetuses that can live at 4 or 5 months, gestational age. So that changes the whole view on what is considered a baby, a baby that can survive, and one that would have no chance back then.
Yeah, well, a life is a life regardless. So the simple fact is,
I'm saying that's what the argument as far as the time change.
Yeah, no, of course. But at the end of the day, what happened though is that Roe v. Wade made it a federal law that abortion should be legal, right? Would be legal, and we changed that. So I mean, nobody ever thought that would be changed. By the way, not a single political analyst, nobody thought that would be changed, and it got changed.
Because it's such a polarizing subject that the right thing to do is to leave it to the states. Because if you are that anti-abortion, then live in a state that
Yeah, and so,
If you're
but then that goes to my point, because at the end of the day, we leave it to the states, and now what's going to change the states choosing to keep it legal or not? It's going to be people voting. It's going to be social contagions. It's going to be social pushes and movements to certain directions. And so when we see it, it's going to be society that's going to push people to make for the states to make abortion illegal. And so it'd be the
Do you
same
believe in
thing.
abortion?
The reason
Do you believe
why.
do you believe it should be legal to have an abortion?
No, I think it should be illegal. But even to that point, the reason why society is so important, the reason why societal push, we don't even have to implement any laws. Society pushes women to be mothers first, to have children first, to focus on motherhood first. Society pushes these things, and society makes it so that it's a little more stigmatized to go into the workforce first as a woman, right out of high school, and you'll see things change very quickly, actually. And things like this podcast, for example, is kind of the way we do it. The social movement towards how things used to be, how things worked before. You say it's not possible, but I say it's very possible. And I think that if things keep going the way they are, which I see the tide turning a little bit, I think we're going to be there much sooner than I think maybe anybody who's listening to this might even expect. But either way, that's just kind of how I see things.
So your reasoning for women not being allowed to vote is what now?
Oh, we're gonna hop into that. I don't think. Listen, I don't think we have enough time for that specific topic. That's gonna go into a lot of other things as well. We can definitely save that for maybe a second time you'd want to come on, or maybe when we go on to your show, we could definitely talk about that as well. I mean, I don't mind at all, but I think we're at this point we're running a little bit out of time.
Okay.
And I want Maddie to kind of have a little bit of opportunity here to say something. I don't know if you have anything to say, Maddie, about any of the stuff we were talking about, any opinions you have. Maybe you want to call me a misogynist, who knows?
I mean, buddy, you already know how. Excuse me. You already know that we see opposites on almost all your views on anything having to do with women. So I mean,
Yeah, buddy, for sure. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, um, you know, I don't think, at least in broader society, my view is definitely not popular, but it's becoming more popular the way I see it. So as long as it keeps getting more popular, it keeps getting more wins in its sales, we'll see things change. But and they'll change for the better, you know. But
You're the only voice I've with your perspective in a long time.
I mean, you'd be surprised. It's actually becoming much more popular nowadays, especially with people. I don't know if you know who Matt Walsh is. There was a big thing that happened in I guess the entertainment scene with him and some lady called Tommy Lauren, and they were having a disagreement. I believe it was Tommy Lauren, if I'm not mistaken. And then there was another man who was called Andrew Wilson who was having a disagreement with her as well. It's becoming a bigger movement now that society is pushing women to be in the home, to focus on motherhood initially. Things like that, it's becoming more popular, and as time goes on.
I think the focus needs to be, let's get the United States out of like imminent bankruptcy first, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, too bad feminism was the one that put us in that predicament. But either way, but yeah, no. Listen, when it comes to voting, I mean, I don't even know if, like I said, we're running out of time there. I don't know if you want to postpone that conversation for a different time.
I'll just say this about voting. You should not be allowed to vote if you don't know what the fuck you're voting for, because a lot of people just follow the herd and they don't even know the policies, at all. And if you really want to know what's really going on, you should turn off your news and turn off social media, because the only way to know what's really happening with our entire political system is to turn on YouTube for free. You can watch the Senate hearings, the House of Representatives, the hearings that happen on the Senate floor, what judges are being nominated by either party, what their arguments are, and get to know your senators and get to know your representatives, and get to see who these people are, who they're putting up, and watch how it happens in real time, and forget what the news says, because if you're drawing your conclusions and your opinions based on snippets from any news organization, you're not working with all of the information. So I won't even argue politics with anybody unless they're really what's happening and not taking secondhand news from somebody else's spin on it and being sold a clip that they want to twist or misrepresent. So that way you're at least working with a full set of actual facts and the way things actually are running, and then you can make an informed decision. for yourself without anybody having an influence on that. See with your own eyes, because that information is available. And so if, unless somebody is also getting the full picture, I won't even waste my time arguing, because they're just not working with all the period, and that's how you will learn the way of what you should be voting for, what's smoke and mirrors, and what's really going on.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I do agree with you. But then, kind of on another hand, I kind of don't.
Then you can watch that for a week on YouTube, and then turn the news on, and then you'll see just how misleading the news is, what they leave out, what they twist, how they turn things completely around from what is really happening, and then that's when you will realize the level of trust it, or social media on both sides, and I'm going to call it on both sides. But that's the way you can get the clear picture of what's happening in our government, exactly how. And vote from a place of knowledge, not from what is the popular way to think. And if you're going to argue one side, you need to know the other side, what their argument is.
Yeah. To a certain degree, again, I do agree. I think most people shouldn't have the right to vote. I think that's kind of where I'm kind of leading myself towards now, kind of looking more into it and whatnot. But definitely, if you were to say one sex should vote, one sex shouldn't, the women shouldn't vote at the end of the day, and the men should. At least, that's kind of how I used to see it. I think to a certain degree. Sorry,
if women voted, though, there'd probably never be a wars if women were running the country.
I disagree there for damn sure, but again, I guess in that sense, I don't think most people should vote. You have to have skin in the game in order to actually understand what you're voting for and things of that nature. I think people are very put into a lot of tribes very easily in today's society, and yeah,
people don't know how to think for themselves at all.
Yeah, plus we have a lot of NGOs who are making a lot of
That's where all the money's going to, the NGOs. That's the biggest scam of all time.
They're making lobbyist movements and everything like that. We don't even see that. So I mean, at the end of the day,
money laundering with our tax dollars. They're money laundering our tax dollars and bringing it right back in.
Yeah, this is something I like to say. The biggest flaw of democracy is that democracy can make way for the people voting democracy out, and then we don't have democracy anymore. I think democracy is actually, I don't know. I don't necessarily think democracy is the smartest idea how to run a country. But either way, that's pretty much. I think that's probably where we're gonna wrap it here. It was a good. I mean, I think it was a good episode. I think we had a lot of good conversations. It was interesting. Maddie didn't fucking talk at all. Maddie, you gotta fucking jump in, bro.
What am I supposed to do?
Jump in, dog. Come on, bro. Interrupt.
I was too interested in the conversation, bro. What are you new here, bro? Come on, I'm
gonna fucking kiss Maddie in the mouth so that he can open his mouth more, man. I swear. No, but either way, it was definitely a good episode. It was very entertaining. I think that we had a lot of good conversations, and it was good to pick your brain and be able to hear your perspective on things as well. I don't take any of this personally. I love the debates. I love having conversations with people who disagree with me. It's awesome to hear your perspective and battle like that.
Me too. And I do wish you the absolute long life of love and happiness, fiance.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. She will be listening to everything I say and be doing everything I say, so I think it'll probably work out. But
oh my God.
No, but yeah, no. I wish you the best in your your endeavor with the book and everything like that, and the podcast as well. I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for that as well. And guys, if you're interested in all that stuff, in her books and her podcast that's coming out, the links to that will be in the description. I know it's not out yet. Once it does come out, I will update the description on the video.
If they follow me on TikTok or Instagram, there'll be updates on there.
100%.
Especially TikTok.
All of those things, all of the links to her TikTok, and when the book comes out, I'll link that in the description as well. All of those things will be in the description down below. So if you guys want to go check that out, make sure to do so. I don't know if anybody has any final words to say before we close out the show. You could talk about anything that we talked about today. Now would be the time. Go ahead.
Just thank you for having me. It's been great to be here. I've loved debating you mostly. Maddie.
Yeah, Maddie didn't say shit.
We didn't give him much chance though either. So I apologize for that, Maddie. But I listen to Maddie.
No worries.
Maddie gives you a run for your money. That's what I'm always like, yeah, Maddie.
Yeah, no.
Maddie's more aligned with
Maddie is my
line
foil.
of- he's more along my line of thinking for sure than you
I
are.
think
Oh
but-
yeah,
so. I think so.
100%.
He's more of the feminist simp that we're talking about, you know.
That feminist simp just girls are people too.
Oh yeah, I got your white armor in my trunk if you want it. All right, so.
Happy wife, happy life. Remember that.
Oh my gosh,
Exactly.
just continue, please, before I get triggered. No, but either way,
All right.
yeah, it was definitely good to have you on. We appreciate you coming on for sure.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great being here.
All right. With that being said, Maddie, obviously, I'm assuming.
Sure we'll chat again.
What was that?
I'm sure we'll chat again.
Oh, for sure. I would definitely, if you're interested and you want to be back on the show, we would love to have you back on the show as well. And also, would love to, when you open your podcast, we would love to be guests on that as well, for sure.
And if you ever have a last minute slot open up and you need somebody to jump in, I'm a spur of the moment kind of girl. So I'll see if I can step in if you guys ever need anybody.
That sounds awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm thinking about doing a 2-on-1. We had another girl come on, pretty early on into the show, into the CatFiveBoys, the show that we're doing, and she disagrees with me on most of the things as well. So I don't know, maybe have both of you guys on, see both of your perspectives. What was that?
He wants to both gang up on you.
Yeah. Not in that way. But yeah, no, for sure. What's it called? I definitely. I think that'd be a pretty good, interesting episode. But, I mean, listen, I think even Maddie at this point would agree with y'all. So both of you guys, all three of you guys against me, shit, I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, no, I mean, we would love to have you on in the future as well. And I think, yeah, no, for sure, we're definitely I would probably say have you on in the future for sure. And then whenever your show opens up and you start doing that, we would love to be on that as well.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Wonderful. With that being said, without no longer ado, I guess, thank you so very much to each and every one of you who listened and tuned into the episode. We appreciate every single one of you from the bottom of our hearts. We know you could be doing anything else, listening to anything else, anyone else. And again, investing your time in anything else, but you're doing it here on this channel and you're doing it with us. We appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts. Disclaimer, the views expressed on the CatFiveBoys podcast by the individual hosts and or guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast. For the disclaimer, the topics that we speak on during the show sometimes get a little dark, sometimes can get a little deep, a little bit depressing, sometimes sensitive. If that's not your thing, this might not be the show for you. We have clips. If you can't catch the full shows and you want to get some of the best bits here. Okay, that's not what I meant to click on. Anyways, if you want to get some of the best bits here, obviously not all the best bits, because then what would be the point of the episodes? We post clips on TikTok. We post clips on YouTube. We have shorts on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the shorts here. And then we also post them on Instagram. If you want to check those out, the links to that will be in the description down below. If you want to be a guest on the show, like... I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting your name. Like Tricia was today. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how I forgot that.
That's okay.
It's been a long night for me. Anyways, so if you want to be a guest on the show like Tricia was today, and you want to talk about something interesting that going on in your life, or maybe you disagree with some of my positions that I don't think women should vote, or if you disagree with Tricia and some of her positions today, and you want to debate her in a future episode, we will definitely schedule that if Tricia's open to it. And to any other guests who have been on the show and you disagree with them on certain topics and you want to schedule a debate, we'll make that work as soon as possible. But we would love to have you on either way. Send us a DM on Instagram at CatFiveBoys, letting us know you're interested in being on the show, and a little bit of a bio of yourself as well, your name, your age, so on and so forth. And we will have you on ASAP. I stream every single Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. At least I try to. I haven't done it for the past couple of weeks. I know I should, especially since I have this new Wi-Fi. I got new Wi-Fi, guys. Okay, so I will be getting on the streaming very, very soon. And yeah, we do TikTok invasions on there. So we go on TikTok, we go on random people's lives who do open prompts for debates, and we debate those people. We absolutely demolish, we absolutely destroy their worldviews, and we replace it with something better. So if you guys are interested in that, and we also play games like Wordle and crosswords, if you guys are interested in any of those things, feel free to check out the stream on Twitch. Again, the link to that will be in the description down below, and as you can see right there, guys. We also sell rosaries. So I am a Catholic, as you guys probably know if you watch the show, and if you haven't, I'm a Catholic. One of the biggest aspects of my faith is my devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, and one of the tools that she provided to us was the rosary. So if you guys are interested in maybe shopping for some rosaries, whatever the case, we have rosaries on our store here. We're gonna add some more in the future. I know we only have these single decades, but they come in wood and in lava rock. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to check it out. We only have these for now on the store, but we're going to add more things as time goes on. Maybe some shirts with the CatFiveBoys logo and other, maybe the Miraculous Metal thing, different things like that. But if you guys are interested, please check out the store. It'd be greatly appreciated. You don't have to buy nothing. Just give it a look. And yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Drop comments. Keep the comments flowing. We love them very, very much. If you want to, maybe drop a little story, a little dating story, embarrassing dating story or something that you want us to read during the Reddit segment of the show, or you disagree with something and you want to give a rebuttal or anything, we would love to touch on that as well. But we love the comments, so keep them flowing. With that being said, thank you so very much for watching. We post every single Wednesdays and Fridays. Again, thank you so very much for listening to our show. Have a great night, and God bless each and every one of you. Good night, guys.
Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah, bye-bye, guys.